So there I was, Yi Qing, professional desk zombie, crawling out of the office after another soul-crushing shift. My hair looked like I'd fought a tornado and lost. The company's lucky money tree by the door, yellow and dying. Same energy as my paycheck, honestly. Work hours went up by a third. Salary went down by a third. Math was never my strong suit, but even I know that's a terrible deal. I dragged myself to my little electric scooter, turned the key, and nothing. Dead. I popped open the seat, and surprise, someone stole my battery. Left a nice little note, too. Lock your bike next time. Thanks, Satan. No shared bikes anywhere. Not a single one. I checked my bank account to see if I could afford a taxi. I could not. Walking it is. 5 kilometers. Easy. I'm basically an athlete. 20 minutes later, I was sitting on the curb, smoking a cigarette, seriously questioning every decision I'd ever made. I can't even climb 5 floors without wheezing like a broken accordion. And I thought I could walk 5 kilometers? Whose confidence was that? Not mine. While I sat there feeling sorry for myself, my brain decided it was the perfect time for a greatest hits montage of all my failures. Fresh out of college, I joined a startup, made more money than all my friends, and laughed at the guys who picked boring, stable jobs. For years later, their lives are great. Mine is a dumpster fire. Girlfriend gone. Parents worried. Me? Alone in a city that doesn't even know my name. Cool. Great. Love that for me. I stood up to keep walking and suddenly got so dizzy the whole world started spinning. My legs went full spaghetti and I stumbled right into the road. A giant construction truck came around the corner. Driver couldn't see me at all. Bang. Screech. My last thought before everything went black. Next life, I'm eating proper meals. Real inspirational stuff. Then I woke up. Not dead, apparently. I was lying on some glowing blue floor that rippled like water when I touched it. Everything was white and empty, like the inside of a brand new refrigerator. A woman walked up to me, silver hair, fancy sci-fi military uniform, looking like she stepped straight out of an anime. She introduced herself as Zero, manager of something called the Space-Time Administration Bureau, Node A3754. She went full presentation mode. Suddenly we're floating in space, stars everywhere. A literal sun the size of a mountain blasting heat at my face until some magic shield popped up to save me. She showed me Earth, spinning in the distance, and gave me the whole speech. Multiple universes, countless civilizations. Her job is to watch and protect them all. Very impressive. I asked her what any of this had to do with me. She seemed a little annoyed. I wasn't more amazed. Look, lady, I worked overtime for 4 years straight. You could tell me gravity is fake, and I'd just ask if that means rent goes down. She finally got to the point. Apparently, Ice Sky reincarnation, getting sent to fantasy worlds, is trending across the multiverse. Administrators pick special people and drop them into other worlds to shake things up. So I'm the chosen one? I asked. No, she said. You're actually an accident. Of course I am. You're an accident. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. My face went through every color on the rainbow. Red, blue, green, like a malfunctioning traffic light. I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. Don't bother holding your breath to death, Zero said, looking way too entertained. You're already dead. Can't die twice. I wanted to fight her. I really did. But she's basically a god, and I have the upper body strength of a wet napkin. So I just stood there, grinding my teeth so hard they squeaked. Which is weird, because I'm pretty sure I don't technically have teeth right now. So this whole dramatic space presentation was just to mess with me. No, 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 she waved her hands. It was an accident, but I'll take responsibility. Pick one. Reincarnation in another world, or join the Space-Time Administration Bureau. Can't you just send me back? She looked at me like I'd asked if the sun was edible. Then she grabbed my shoulders and started shaking me like a broken vending machine. I'm trying to compensate you, and you want to go back to your 996 job? Are you a masochist? I can send you to a mining planet if that's your thing. Free meals, free bed, work every single day forever. It's just, my parents are still alive. That shut her up. The whole universe scene disappeared. Suddenly we were in a nice office. Me on a comfy sofa, hot tea on the table, very civilized. She explained she couldn't send me back because my body got flattened by a truck. Earth medicine can't fix pancake. Even gods have rules, apparently. She could make me a new body and identity, but going home wasn't an option. I asked to see my parents. She showed me. Two old people sitting in front of a gravestone, eyes red, mumbling to themselves. My heart just broke. Zero told me they'd received a large compensation payment, and she'd personally used her authority to arrange good things for their future. People to take care of them, smooth sailing ahead. As for herself, she'd be punished for this screw-up. Something like 20,000 years of military service. 20,000 years. Our lifespans are different. It's like a long vacation, really. Sure. Totally normal sentence. All right, I said. Send me to another world. What kind of world do you want? And here's where I apparently lost my mind. Because out of all the things I could have asked for, superpowers, a kingdom, a harem, I said, can I just farm? Zero blinked. Then she laughed and pulled up what looked like a fantasy shopping catalog. The starter pack, 5 picks. This thing had legendary swords with infinite growth potential, magic staffs that doubled everything, dragon eggs, basically in-game loot disguised as a welcome gift. Are you sure this is the starter pack and not the final boss reward? Details. Just pick. So I chose my 5. Well, for items and a request. 1. Shape-shifting tool. Turns into any tool I need, doubles my skill and efficiency. Perfect for farming. 2. Dream pouch. A magic bag with its own pocket dimension inside. Can't store living things, but everything else? Sure. 3. Spirit armor. Looks like regular clothes. Blocks anything up to natural disaster level damage. Fashion and function. 4. Guidebook to another world. Auto-scans the local ecosystem, civilizations, languages, everything. Basically fantasy Wikipedia. For my 5th pick, I asked Zero to just crank up my base stats instead. Make me tough enough that I won't die easily. She agreed. I thanked her, walked toward the swirling portal she opened, and right before I stepped in, I glanced back at the screen that had shown my parents at my grave. Except now, no gravestone. The screen showed me, sitting up in a hospital bed, my parents and coworkers around me, everyone laughing and happy. She faked it. The whole sad graveyard scene. My parents were fine. I was fine. She just wanted drama. Zero, you lying. The portal sucked me in before I could finish that sentence. Turns out, behind the scenes, Zero had a whole twin sister situation going on. Her duplicate asked why she'd put on that whole emotional performance. Zero's answer? Because it was fun. She also casually cranked my stats up to demigod level. Her colleague looked horrified and suggested Zero get her brain checked. Reassuring. Anyway, I landed on a planet called Zygiana. Means, praise the light, in every local language, which is nice. Slightly smaller than Earth, similar atmosphere. Elves, dwarves, beast folk, the whole fantasy lineup. My exact landing spot. The Devil's Forest. Southwestern edge of the biggest continent. So many monsters that every kingdom officially said, nah, you can have it, and abandoned the territory entirely. Great location for a farm. 0 stars on Yelp. But hey, no landlord, no rent, no government paperwork. For a guy who just wants to grow vegetables in peace, abandoned monster wilderness is basically free real estate. Then I remembered Zero's little prank and looked up at the sky to express my feelings. Zero, you piece of, boom. Crack. Lightning. Straight out of a clear sky. Directly onto my head. Hair standing up, smoke coming out of my mouth, the whole cartoon look. So she is watching. And she has a smite button. Noted. Good news. I survived a direct lightning strike. So either my boosted stats are legit, or the armor works great. I'm not taking the armor off to find out which one. I washed up in a nearby stream, pulled out my guidebook, and started walking. Somewhere in this monster-infested nightmare forest, there's a perfect little spot waiting for me. Time to find where the dream begins. First order of business in the monster forest, don't die. Second order, find food and shelter before dark. The guidebook turned out to be the best pick I ever made. It works like a magical iPad disguised as an old scroll. I can scroll and zoom the map with my fingers. Plus, it auto-identifies everything I walk past, like a fantasy Pokédex for plants and fish. Droopfruit pine. Looks like a pine tree, grows berries, not poisonous. Go ahead and eat it. Heartspine mandarin fish. Looks like a regular mandarin fish, but evolved murder spikes on its back, because nature is fun. Name, picture, safety rating. 5 stars. Would download again. I grabbed some edible berries and seeds along the way, stuffed them in my magic pouch, and kept walking upstream looking for shelter. Eventually, I hit a big rock wall, gray stone covered in moss and vines, looking like a sleeping dragon. The stream twisted up into the mountains from here. Scenic? Yes. Useful? Not really. No caves anywhere. I thought to myself, guess I'll just dig one then. The shape-shifting tool must have read my mind, because it instantly turned into a hammer and chisel. A hammer and a chisel. Are you kidding me? I threw the chisel on the ground and yelled at it for a solid 3.5 minutes. I need a cave, not a Renaissance sculpture. At this rate, I'd finish by next century. After my tantrum, I went to pick the tools back up and wait. The chisel had sunk halfway into the ground. The hammer head was buried in the dirt too. I barely even threw them hard. Curious, I walked over to the rock wall, placed the chisel against it, gave a light tap, and chunk, a head-sized boulder popped right off. The resistance was about the same as cutting an apple. Oh, shape-shifting tool. Transforms into any tool, skill 100%, efficiency 100%. They forgot to mention the thing is made of whatever gods use to cut through reality. The description said, efficiency boost. This isn't a boost. This is cheating. I went absolutely feral, swinging that hammer like a maniac, chunks of rock flying everywhere, and within minutes I had a cave big enough to live in. Just like that. Me, a guy who used to get winded opening pickle jars. I cleaned it up, flattened the floor, and then, because I was having the time of my life, I grabbed the tool-turned axe and went to chop wood. Palm-like leaves for bedding, steel-hard wooden rods for a frame. The wood was tough as iron, but the axe went through it like butter. Thank you, survival video games, for teaching me how to build a basic shelter. For once, my screen time paid off. Then hunger hit. Hard. The berries helped a little, but I needed real food. Protein. I marched to the stream, stood completely still in the water, tool morphed into a shiny trident. Fish swimming right next to me, and I struck with deadly precision. No, I did not. I missed, and missed, and missed, and fell in the water, multiple times. The 100% skill boost apparently means 100% better than 0, which is still terrible. After embarrassing myself for what felt like an hour, I finally caught 5 fish. 5. A penguin would have done better blindfolded. On the way back, I also chopped down a massive tree, 2 meters wide, because I needed a door. And here's where I realized just how much 0 juiced my stats. I hooked the axe into this enormous tree stump and dragged it almost a kilometer back to my cave. Wasn't even breathing hard. Back on Earth, I couldn't carry groceries up 3 flights of stairs. Now I'm casually hauling lumber like a forklift with legs. Bless that chaotic maniac and her demigod stat package. I built a fire pit with stones, made a fire using the tool-turned drill board and dry grass, and hung my wet clothes to dry by the flames. My spirit armor, meanwhile, decided to be amazing. It sensed I had no clothes on and morphed itself from a plain jacket into a stylish pair of overalls with a crisp white shirt. This thing has better fashion sense than I do. Then, dinner. I cleaned the fish, skewered them on sticks, washed some berries, carved a stone bowl for water, and roasted everything over the fire. The smell was incredible. The taste was nothing. 0 seasoning. Just hot fish-flavored air. But honestly, I was so hungry it didn't matter. I inhaled the whole thing. I trimmed the tree stump flat and wedged it into the cave entrance as a door. Would it stop a monster? Probably not. Would it stop bugs and make me feel safer? Absolutely. Sometimes survival is 50% practical and 50% psychological. As the sun set, I sat in my doorway and looked up. 2 moons. 2. Hanging in the sky together, brighter than anything I ever saw on Earth. That's when it really hit me. This is real. This is my life now. And you know what? For the first time in years, I felt light. No KPIs breathing down my neck. No overtime. No checking my bank account and wincing. No fear of getting fired. Just me, a cave, some tasteless fish, and 2 moons. I said I came here to farm. I muttered. So why does this feel more like a survival show? Step 1, stay alive. Step 2, stabilize. Step 3, then farm. Plan confirmed. I closed my tree stump door, put out the fire, lay down on my palm leaf bed, and stared at the ceiling wondering if any of this was real or if I was in a coma somewhere dreaming about fish and hammers. Either way, no alarm clock tomorrow. Day 1 in another world, complete. My fishing game has leveled up significantly. I'm out here spearing fish like Aquaman's less attractive cousin. On the way back, I checked the animal trap I'd set up and found the weirdest creature I've ever seen. Imagine a chicken, right? Now put a rabbit's head on it. Now give the rabbit head a sharp beak instead of a mouth. Now slap a big pink rooster comb on top. The guidebook says, rabbit head chicken. Behaves like a normal chicken. Meat is firm and delicious. I don't care what it looks like. If it tastes good, it's dinner. Thanks to about 400 hours of a certain survival video game, I've been making solid upgrades around camp. Pinecone torches for light. A drying rack for preserving meat. A bamboo shower system. I'm basically a caveman with a PhD from YouTube University. One weird thing though, this is supposed to be the terrifying Devil's Forest, packed with deadly monsters. I haven't seen a single one. Every animal I've met has been regular wildlife. Either I'm incredibly lucky or something very strange is going on. But hey, I'm not complaining. I did meet one dangerous thing, a wild boar. The guidebook literally called it strong wild boar. Creative naming, guys. This thing was twice the size of a normal boar, with curling tusks and drool that haunts my nightmares. It rammed me while I was fishing, launched me into the air like a football. I rolled, stood up, realized I wasn't even scratched, and the boar was already charging again. So I just held up my spear and let it run straight onto it. The spear went through its forehead and basically out the other side. Ding. Pork kebab one. The meat tasted awful though, and I don't know how to tan leather. So I dragged the carcass far away and dumped it. Rest in peace, ugly pig. Time for the big decision. Build a house or start farming. I chose the house, partly because of logistics, partly because after a lifetime of renting, the idea of owning property, even in a monster forest on an alien planet, hit something deep in my soul. Homeownership, the obsession that transcends dimensions. I headed back to my original landing spot, flat ground, water nearby, and still had that lightning scorch mark from when Zero zapped me. Perfect landmark. Here comes Wai Ching the lumberjack. I went berserk with the axe. Trees falling left and right, the ground shaking. Every creature in the forest running for their lives. Winged monkeys, two-headed blackbirds, six-legged beaver things with fluffy tails, a whole parade of weirdness fleeing from the maniac with the magic axe. The guidebook was pinging non-stop with new creature entries, but I didn't have time to read. If it's running away from me, it's not a threat. My original plan was to clear an 80-meter radius circle. Then I actually looked at how big that was and said, absolutely not. Cut it down to 40 meters. Future me can deal with the rest. Building the cabin took about 10 days. The actual chopping and assembling? Pretty quick. What ate up half my time was finding enough moss to fill the wall gaps, gathering vines to tie everything together, and teaching myself mortise and tenon joinery. Here's the thing. I somehow just understood it. Back on Earth, I'd look at woodworking joints and my brain would shut down. Now I'm figuring them out intuitively, like I was born doing this. I think when Zero cranked up my stats, she threw in some bonus IQ points too. Sneaky. I looked at the fading scorch mark on the ground, thought about Zero's dumb prank, and silently said sorry. Couldn't help smiling though. The cabin looked great. I carved a wooden sign with my magic chisel knife and mounted it by the door. Wai Ching's home, my first property. Mortgage-free, HOA-free, on another planet. Living the dream. I moved everything from the cave into the house using the magic pouch. One trip, done, and set up all my stuff inside. The place was actually starting to feel cozy. Now, farming. I started behind the house, clearing tree stumps with the tool-turned hoe, flipping soil, pulling roots. Saved the front of the house for a future flower garden, because even interdimensional farmers deserve curb appeal. After 2 solid days of backbreaking work, I had roughly 1 acre of cleared land. And then I had what I can only describe as a historically accurate, but personally catastrophic, idea. Slash and burn farming. The ancients did it. It's efficient. What could go wrong? I dug trenches around the field, filled them with diverted stream water as a fire break, made a bunch of wooden buckets just in case, and then, torch in hand, I set my field on fire. The freshly turned, sun-dried soil and dead plants caught fire beautifully. Too beautifully. The trenches helped a little. A little. The fire grew, and kept growing. It started creeping toward my brand new house and the uncleared forest. I panicked. Full panic mode. Grabbed buckets, started sprinting between the stream and the fire at demigod speed. Literally a blur, hurling water everywhere. It slowed the fire down, but wasn't enough. My beautiful house was about to become charcoal. Then, out of nowhere, the clear sky turned black. Thunder cracked, and rain poured down like someone turned on a cosmic fire hose. I sat in my scorched field, hair singed and curled, face covered in soot, staring at the sky in stunned silence. And then I heard it. Faint. Familiar. Zero's voice, drifting through the rain like a disappointed parent. Stop being an idiot. Yes, ma'am. Message received. No more playing with fire. The fire incident humbled me deeply. My inner caveman has been put back in his cage. These past few days I've been behaving like a model citizen, hunting quietly, clearing land properly, no arson whatsoever. Time to actually farm. I dumped out my magic pouch and sorted through everything I'd collected. Moonstar flower seeds that can be ground into seasoning spice. Goodbye, tasteless fish era. Spray beans, packed with fat, basically fantasy butter. And my pride and joy, bitter rice. When I first found it, I almost walked right past it. This stuff looks like a sad weed. Tiny, short, barely any grain on it, like if regular rice gave up on life. Compared to the rice back on Earth that humans spent thousands of years perfecting, this stuff looks like its dropout cousin. But the guidebook said it's edible, so I spent weeks obsessively collecting every last grain I could find. Ended up with about a kilogram. I tested a tiny batch, stone ground the husks off, boiled some into porridge. Slightly bitter, but it smelled amazing. Good enough. I need rice in my life. A man can only eat plain grilled fish for so long before he snaps. The field was prepped, irrigation ditches adjusted. Bitter rice is a dryland crop. Just plant and water. I scattered the golden seeds across every row, covered them with thin soil, and stood back to admire my work. Then I needed to water. My brain said, irrigation drone, and garden hose. The shape-shifting tool heard me, tried its best, and produced. A giant watering can, 1/2 meter tall, luxury model, sleek design, beautiful craftsmanship. I still had to walk back and forth to the stream 50 times to fill it. When I finished, I stood in my field, pressed my palms together, and prayed, Dear Dear Goddess, please let my rice grow. I haven't farmed since I was a kid helping my parents. And even back then I mostly just got in the way. Growing crops isn't just put seed in dirt and wait. There's fertilizing, pest control, disease management. And this is wild rice on an alien planet. I have no idea what could go wrong. But worrying won't fill my stomach, so off I went a hunt. Problem: all the local animals near my house have gotten smart. Between my weeks of lumberjacking and, the giant fire, every creature within running distance now treats me like a natural disaster. They see me coming and bolt. I've been having to rely on pure athletic superiority just to catch anything, which feels less like hunting and more like bullying. So I decided to explore a new direction, downstream, along the creek. At least I can't get lost if I follow the water. Half an hour of walking through an ocean of green, and then I saw it. By the stream, drinking water, was the most beautiful creature I've ever seen. Like an elk, but 3 meters tall when it raised its head. Pure white fur with flickers of silver light. Flowers growing from its antlers. An actual halo behind its head. It looked like something that belongs in a cathedral, not a forest. The guidebook pinged immediately. Sacred spirit deer. A magical creature found across the continent. Common near elven settlements and remote areas. Its antlers and fur are premium materials for spell casting and alchemy. A magical creature. My first real monster encounter. But honestly, this thing looked about as monstrous as a greeting card. It was gorgeous. I gripped my steel trident tight, crouched low, and prepared for battle. Just because it looks holy doesn't mean it won't try to eat me. For all I know, it shoots laser beams from that halo. In hindsight, I really should have picked a weapon from that starter catalog instead of the guidebook. My armor blocks, natural disaster level, attacks, sure, but what if natural disaster is like the lowest tier here? What if random forest wizards are casually throwing apocalypse spells? I have no frame of reference. The deer walked toward me, my muscles coiled, every vein popping, ready to fight. It stopped 5 meters away. Then it knelt down, both front legs, head bowed, like it was showing respect. A warm golden light gathered between its antlers and floated gently toward me. It just hovered there, warm, completely non-threatening. I poked it with my trident. The light flowed down the weapon, up my arm, across my whole body, and dissolved. Nothing hurt. Nothing felt wrong. Just warm. The deer looked up at me with jewel-like eyes full of pure, unmistakable affection, like a puppy meeting its owner. Then it stood, hopped gracefully into the trees, and vanished. What just happened? I checked my body. Totally fine. No extra limbs, no glowing runes, no sudden urge to become a vegetarian. Whatever that was, I filed it under mysterious forest blessings I don't understand and moved on. And then things got really weird. Normally, hunting takes time, patience, and luck. Animals run. Fish don't cooperate. It's a whole process. But today, I found a front row seat to a nature documentary. A pack of wild boars was fighting a power bear. Imagine a regular bear, but angrier and with knife claws. One boar charged and missed, crashing through 2 trees. The others hit the bear dead on, one tusk stabbing deep into its gut. The bear went nuclear, smashed one boar's skull flat with a single paw, ripped another one apart, then chased down the tree crasher and bit its throat out. The 2 surviving smaller boars ran for their lives. The bear tried to chase but noticed. Oh no, its stomach was sliced wide open. It staggered a few steps and dropped dead. I waited a few minutes. No other predators showed up. So I casually strolled out of the bushes and surveyed the carnage. Dead bear, dead boars, a busted open beehive by the stream, free honey, bird eggs in one of the fallen trees. And underneath the tree, 2 squashed rabbit-head chickens who were clearly just minding their own business. My mouth twitched. This wasn't hunting. This was shopping. Nature literally gift-wrapped a week's worth of food and left it on my doorstep. I grabbed the eggs, scooped the honeycomb, tied up the chickens, cut off the bear's foreclaws and the boar tusks as crafting materials, and dragged the big carcasses far away so nothing scary would come sniffing around. Packed up and headed home. It was barely noon. I'd expected to be out until sunset. Instead, I had enough supplies for days. Something is going on. The blessing from that deer, the animals fighting right in front of me, the free loot. This can't all be coincidence. But before I could finish processing any of that, I got home, looked at my field, and my brain stopped working entirely. I got home, looked at my field, and my brain short-circuited. The seeds I planted this morning had already sprouted. Sprouted. In half a day, and they were visibly growing. Like, I could literally watch them getting taller in real time. Are we doing 1 day to sprout, 3 days to seedling, 5 days to grain, 10 days to harvest? Is this rice or a time-lapse video? Something wasn't right. My inner science nerd woke up from a long nap and demanded answers. Seeds? Local. Soil? Local. Water? Local. The only non-local things here are me and my tools. So I ran an experiment. I made a crappy stone hoe the old-fashioned way, stick, rock, vine, and dug 2 plots side by side. One tilled with the stone hoe, one with the shape-shifting tool. Planted moonstar flower seeds in both. Same soil, same water, same everything. Then I waited. Next morning, the tool-planted seed was already a seedling. The regular one had barely poked through the dirt. Over the next few days, I went full mad scientist. Tool-watered versus hand-watered. Tool-tilled versus hand-tilled. Every possible combination. I ran controlled experiments with proper variables like I was writing a college thesis nobody asked for. The conclusion? The more the shape-shifting tool is involved, the faster things grow. That 100% efficiency doesn't just mean I work faster. The results are better too. This thing doesn't just boost my farming. It basically casts a growth spell on everything it touches. Move over every fertilizer brand ever. This magic tool makes you all look like tap water. And the quality difference was insane. The regular planted moonstar flowers? Half of them got sick, got bugs, and died sad little deaths. The tool-planted ones? Every single seed bloomed. Bigger flowers, stronger stems, like they were showing off at a beauty contest. Same story with the rice. Bitter rice is supposed to be short, scraggly, and pathetic, basically the bottom tier of grain. But MY tool-grown rice. Standing tall and proud, every stalk loaded with plump kernels. It didn't even look like the same species anymore. My rice had a glow-up. I harvested with the tool-turned sickle, threshed the grain, and wove bamboo mats to dry everything in the sun. The yield ratio was incredible, but since I started with so little seed, The total amount was still small. I kept some for eating and replanted the rest, enough to fill the whole acre this time. With the tools boost and better second-generation seeds, one more harvest, and I'd never worry about rice again. Here's the crazy part. Each generation of crops seems to be better than the last. If I keep replanting improved seeds over and over, what will bitter rice evolve into? Fantasy super rice? Interdimensional jasmine premium? I got chills just thinking about it. But rice alone doesn't make a meal. Time to find vegetables. I turned into a botanical explorer, wandering the forest with my guidebook, picking wild plants, comparing them to the encyclopedia, and occasionally chewing random leaves like a weirdo. Full plant scientist aesthetic. I found snake-scale melon, tastes like cucumber, jade leaf, works as leafy greens, mystery fruit, basically a tomato, several spice plants, and the holy grail, flame flower fruit, which is basically chili pepper. Seasoning. Finally, the tasteless era is over. I cleared new land and planted everything like a kid in a candy store, singing to myself while I worked. Dig a hole, drop the seed, count to 5 and watch it feed. My own dirt, my own land. Growing dinner's pretty grand. Life was good. 3 months in another world, and I'd built something real. The cleared area behind the house. All farmland now. Rice paddies in the back. Vegetable zone, spice zone, and fruit zone sectioned off neatly. Yes, I was even growing fruit. I was harvesting so much food every day that I had to deliberately limit my planting area to avoid waste. That's the most luxurious problem I've ever had. The cabin got a major upgrade too. I doubled its size, bedroom on one side, kitchen on the other. Built a proper bed, table, chairs. The kitchen had shelves, a stove, handmade pots and pans. I even built a separate storage shed and dug an underground cellar for preserving grain. One thing I'm weirdly particular about. I refuse to store food directly in the magic pouch. Even though items inside get frozen in time, it just feels wrong. It's like putting an unwrapped sandwich in your backpack. Technically fine. Psychologically unacceptable. Fences went up around the property. I caught some live rabbit-head chickens and started a poultry farm. The little rabbit-faced weirdos were actually pretty easy to keep. Eggs every day. Farming and ranching now. Living the full homesteader fantasy. I built all this. By myself. No mortgage. No landlord. No rent. No boss. No deadlines. Just me, my magic tools, and a cleared patch of alien forest. Sitting on my porch one evening, I sipped hot water from a handmade cup. It tasted like nothing. Just warm emptiness. I looked into the cup and thought, I should really find something to use as tea leaves. This was my biggest problem. Tea. Not rent. Not overtime. Not my bank balance. Tea. I almost cried from how peaceful that was. And then, BOM. A massive explosion from the deep forest. Birds erupting from the trees in every direction. Thick smoke rising and refusing to clear. So much for peace and quiet. So there I was, sipping my flavorless hot water, thinking, life is perfect, nothing could possibly go wrong. And boom. Explosion. Smoke. Birds screaming. Classic. I felt like an old man in a kung fu movie with a dozen death flags sticking out of my back. The second I think, this is fine, the universe goes, oh really? My brain said, stay home, lock the door, not your problem. My heart said, dude, something's happening. Go look. Let's be real. 3 months of talking to nobody but a magic guidebook had me desperate for excitement. My last adrenaline rush was the deer incident. Since then it's been nothing but planting, harvesting, planting, harvesting. I was literally having conversations with myself. Out loud. Daily. So I grabbed my weapon and ran toward the smoke. The forest was pure chaos. Animals stampeding in every direction, so panicked they were running toward me instead of away. I dodged them and kept going. I found a massive crater, 10 meters wide, smoking, the ground scorched like a meteor hit. Trees flattened in every direction, and floating above it all, a woman in white robes, long hair whipping in the wind, a sapphire-tipped magic staff hovering beside her, crackling with blue-black lightning. Across from her, a monster with golden bull horns on a lion's body, mane puffed out, tail glowing with golden energy. This was a real fight. Magic beams versus monster blasts. They fired at each other, two streams of energy colliding mid-air with an ear-splitting roar, grinding against each other until both fizzled out. The one on the left always loses in beam clashes, I muttered from my tree branch. Everyone knows that rule. Sure enough, the woman was running on fumes, wobbling in the air, barely staying afloat. The lion bull thing crouched, ready to pounce. She's done, I thought, shifting my weight, and crack. The branch under me snapped. Both of them looked at me. Just some random dude squatting on a tree with a weird weapon. Peak main character entrance. The woman shouted, "It's dangerous. Run." But the monster? It stared at me, growled, started backing up, and then let out this pathetic whimper and bolted into the forest. It ran. From me. The woman who'd been throwing lightning at it for who knows how long. It fought. Random farmer with a pointy stick? Terrifying apparently. I have no idea why. Maybe it sensed my demigod stats. Maybe it smelled the spirit deer blessing on me. Maybe I just have that energy. The woman, with the threat gone, finally lost consciousness midair and dropped like a rock. I rushed over and caught her. She collapsed into my arms, completely out cold. I came to watch a fight and accidentally caught a girl. This was not the plan. I carried her and her staff back to my cabin and put her on my bed, the only bed. Checked that she was breathing normally, no blood anywhere, seemed okay. Then I went outside because I had two priorities. Prepare defenses in case that monster came back, and make dinner, because it was dinner time and I'm a man of routine. I checked all my pit traps around the property, sharpened bamboo stakes and hidden holes covered with thin boards and dirt. Then I hit the kitchen. Rice, washed and cooking. Rabbit head chicken, caught, killed, plucked, cleaned, thrown in the pot with spices and vegetables. Chicken soup cures everything. That's not an opinion. That's a cultural fact carved into my DNA. I sat by the front door with my steel trident, watching the forest like a guard dog, while the smell of chicken soup and fresh rice filled the house. Inside, my guest's nose twitched. She woke up. I knocked, waited a few seconds, "Gentleman farmer, thank you," and walked in. "You're awake. Let's eat." She sat at the table staring at the stone dishes, steaming food, and bowl of rice like she'd teleported to another dimension. Which, from her perspective, she kind of had. She tried to politely refuse. "Oh, I really shouldn't," growl. Her stomach betrayed her instantly. Her face turned bright red. I pretended not to notice, took a bite of my own food first to show it wasn't poisoned, and served her a bowl. "You must be hungry. Eat." She caved, took a few bites, then looked up, embarrassed. Do you have a knife and fork?" I looked at my chopsticks, then at her. "Oh, right. This is another world. Nobody here knows what chopsticks are. I'd been using them for 3 months out of pure habit and forgot they're not a universal concept." Awkward silence. "Sorry, I don't have any. I can cut the meat smaller or maybe you could teach me how to use those." "Special utensils?" She held up the chopsticks like they were alien artifacts. Which, technically, they were. I showed her the grip, the pinch motion, the technique. I expected it to take forever. It took me years as a kid, with my mom yelling at me the whole time. This woman dropped one piece of chicken 3 times, and then just got it. Perfect form. Picking up food like she'd been doing it her whole life. "Incredible," I said. "My mother would be furious." "Dexterity is a basic mage skill," she said casually, then clicked the chopsticks in the air like a pro. "But honestly, these are the real marvel. 2 simple sticks replacing multiple utensils? Brilliant. Is this from your homeland? Ancient tradition. There's a whole philosophy behind them." She introduced herself. "Kylan, from the kingdom of Pelorn, a white robe mage." I introduced myself as Yi Ching, hermit from somewhere far away. She tried to say my name in the local language, Lido Koli, and that's when it hit me. Wait, we've been talking this entire time. Fluently. In her language. When did I learn another world's language? I tested it. Wrote, chopsticks, in Chinese on the table with wet fingers. She couldn't read it. But, moonstar flower, and monster, in this world's writing? She read them instantly. Somehow, I can speak and write the common language of this world, but Chinese characters are still Chinese. Zero must have done something to my brain during the transfer. Or maybe it was part of the stat boost. Either way, convenient. Terrifying, but convenient. I played it off. "Sorry, haven't talked to anyone in months. My language wiring's a bit scrambled." Kylan didn't push it. Smart woman. She could tell I had secrets, but she also had the class not to pry. As she put it, a good white robe mage doesn't go digging into other people's business. I liked her already. We kept eating and talking. I casually asked about everything I'd been wondering for 3 months. How this world works, what's out there, what's normal. And slowly, piece by piece, the bigger picture started to come together. But mostly I was just happy to talk to someone who wasn't a guidebook or a rabbit-head chicken. Dinner conversation with Kylan took a turn when she started doing math on my situation. Hold on. You're telling me you lived alone in Devil's Forest for 3 months? Yep. Built a house, grew crops, cleared all this land by yourself? That's right. And no monsters attacked you? Well, I met a holy deer and that lion thing from earlier, but yeah, no attacks. She stared at me like I'd just told her I'd juggle suns for fun. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there grinning like an idiot, pointing at my unused pit traps like, see? Didn't even need these bad boys. Then she got all serious and formal. Even switched from, you, to the polite, you, like I'd suddenly been promoted. What is your combat class? Mage, knight, warrior, druid? I'm a farmer. You literally saw the crops. She wasn't buying it. Apparently, in the entire history of this world, nobody has survived solo in Devil's Forest for that long. Not even top-tier mages or master druids. Kylan herself is a white robe mage, second highest rank, and she only came this deep because a monster chased her in. Devil's Forest has dozens of creatures as powerful as that golden lion, she said. We only collect materials from the edges, and even then we go in full teams. That's crazy. I haven't seen a single one. That's the problem. Combined with the lion running away from you. Your combat class must be legendary tier. Maybe higher. I laughed so hard I almost choked. You've got the wrong guy. I have zero combat training. I'm literally just a hermit who grows vegetables. She didn't believe me. Kept poking and prodding. I kept telling the truth. What am I gonna do, lie? Make up a cooler backstory. Yeah, I'm actually a dragon knight from the Shadow Realm. I can barely catch fish. Then, because the universe has perfect comedic timing, a low growl echoed from the forest. The golden lion followed us. Kylan grabbed her staff and rushed outside. Run. I'll hold it off. She really was going to fight this thing at half power to protect me. Noble? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely not. I walked out behind her. The lion was at the tree line, maybe 50 meters away, pacing back and forth. It kept lifting a paw to step forward, then putting it back down. Over and over. Kylan recognized it immediately. Territory behavior. It thinks it's approaching a stronger predator's domain. She looked at me. Looked at the lion. Looked at me again. The gears turning in her head were almost audible. You're not secretly a dragon in human form, are you? What? A ghost? A ghost lord. What is wrong with you? I pointed at the lion. Can we deal with that first? I think it's about to leave again. It was true. The second I stepped outside, the golden lion went from cautiously approaching to full body trembling. Its tail was tucked, its legs were shaking. Its claws had dug into the dirt from pure terror. It looked like a chihuahua at the vet. Should we keep it? I asked without thinking. Keep it? I meant we should kill it. Its materials are worth a fortune. Kylan pointed at me, sputtering. Wait, were you seriously considering keeping a golden lion as a pet? Just kidding. But I don't want to kill it either. Why? It's so valuable. I don't need money. I do. Then you fight it. I can't. So let me get this straight. You want me to fight it, even though you just met me and I told you I'm a farmer? Where is this confidence coming from? I looked back at the lion. It was vibrating like a phone on silent. I figured, why not test something? Lie down, I said. It dropped, face first into the dirt, completely flat, not moving. This absolute apex predator just obeyed me like a scolded puppy. Kylan's jaw hit the floor. I scratched my head. Yeah, there's no explaining my way out of this one. Time for offense. I spun around while she was still buffering and hit her with the reverse interrogation. So what did you do to this poor thing? Why are you bullying it? She short-circuited. Mouth open, brain offline. If she'd been drooling, she'd look like a cartoon. Me? Bully IT? Are you serious? Well, why else is it chasing you? Because I maybe possibly took some thundergrass from its nest. Thundergrass? Let me see. Her silver ring flashed, and out came a plant that looked like an orchid with tiny lightning bolts crackling on it. The guidebook pinged. 50-year thundergrass. Excellent magical material. Adds lightning enhancement to equipment. I held it up toward the lion. Is this what you want? The lion instantly stopped shaking. Shot to its feet. Tail straight up, wagging like a golden retriever spotting a treat. Its huge eyes were sparkling. It looked exactly like my cat back on Earth when I opened a can of wet food. Fluffy, I asked Justice. How about we give it back? I suggested. Absolutely not, Kylan practically shouted. Then her voice got smaller. I've been searching for this for years. With it, I might finally qualify for purple robe status. Thundergrass is nearly extinct. Even a tiny bit doubles a lightning mage's spell power. That important, huh? I rubbed my chin, looked at the thundergrass, looked at the empty plot of land next to my house, and a beautiful, beautiful idea bloomed in my brain. Good idea. 1. I turned to the lion. Hey, kitty, can you come back in a few days? I'll return it, I promise. Look, I live right here. I'm not going anywhere, kitty. The golden lion, terror of the forest, apex magical predator, and I just called it kitty. The sound it made was somewhere between outraged roar and desperate whimper. But it looked at me, or rather, at whatever terrifying invisible thing it saw behind me, hesitated, touched its nose to the ground in some kind of animal promise, and left. Kylan exhaled so hard, she almost deflated. Thank you so much. I'll leave as soon as possible, and you should move too. When it comes back, leave? Are you in a hurry? No. But, perfect. I held up the thundergrass in one hand and pointed at my empty field with the other. Biggest grin on my face. 2 rows of perfect teeth shining in the moonlight. I told you, I'm a farmer. Last night, I dropped the ultimate power move on Kylan. She was panicking about the thundergrass, saying it can't be cultivated, that countless people have tried and failed throughout history, which is exactly why it's going extinct. So I pointed at my rice field. How long does rice normally take to mature? 4 or 5 months. That batch over there. Planted 10 days ago. Her brain did that loading screen thing again. I could practically see the spinning wheel behind her eyes. I gave her a thumbs up and flicked my hair like a shampoo commercial. Farming? I'm a professional. Next morning, I dug a hole with the tool, soaked the thundergrass roots in water, planted it, packed the soil, and gave it a good drink. Done. My whole farming empire started with one weird rice plant. Why not add impossible magical herbs to the portfolio? Kylan sat on a stool watching me, looking like someone whose financial advisor just invested her life savings in lottery tickets. Don't worry, I told her. Trust my farming skills. But this is a magical plant, not food. It's still a plant. Worst case, we dig it up and nothing's lost. She had a point, but so did I. The thundergrass won't decay outside soil. Its magic keeps it preserved. So even if my experiment fails, she still has her herb. 0 risk. I'm basically a fantasy venture capitalist. Now come on, help me cook. Freeloading isn't elegant. Oh, okay. In the kitchen, I was struggling with my stone lighter when Kylan casually snapped her fingers. Poof. A little fireball appeared in the stove, and the wood caught instantly. I clapped like she'd just invented fire itself. Full standing ovation energy. She turned red. Listen, I know it's basic magic, but when you've been rubbing sticks together for 3 months, a snap-to-fire spell is revolutionary. Then I got to work. And this is where I truly shine. Not farming, not surviving, not accidentally intimidating apex predators. Cooking. The sun was perfect. Golden light pouring through the window. Smoke curling gently from the chimney. Kylan washed vegetables at the stone sink while I commanded the stove like an orchestra conductor. Spatula in hand, ingredients dancing in the wok, spices flying in at exactly the right moment. Salt here, dried herbs there, a sprinkle of flame flour for heat. I made 4 dishes: stir-fried white mushrooms with rabbit head chicken, fresh jade leaf salad, chili fried wild boar jerky with a gorgeous red glaze, and a big steaming pot of rice. The wild boar meat that tasted terrible months ago, now that I have proper spices, it's a completely different animal. Literally, figuratively, deliciously. Every plate looked like art, smelled like heaven. Kylan stared at the spread with the expression of someone who just found religion. I heard her mumble something under her breath while watching me cook. So handsome. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. But I'm also going to remember it forever. During lunch, she kept praising my food while I kept asking questions about the world. Perfect arrangement. She feeds my curiosity, I feed her stomach. Then, a soft, pitiful roar from outside. We looked at each other, put down our chopsticks, walked out. The golden lion was back, sitting in the exact same spot as yesterday, staring longingly at the freshly planted thundergrass with those enormous puppy dog eyes. Dude, I said a few days. It's been one. It flinched when it saw me, but didn't run this time. Progress? It seemed to be figuring out that I wasn't going to attack it. The vibe had shifted from mortal terror to cautious observation. I had an idea. A possibly stupid idea. An idea Kylan would definitely hate. I went to the chicken pen, grabbed a rabbit head chicken, and started walking toward the golden lion. Kylan grabbed my arm. I shook my head, gently pushed her hand away, and kept going. Stopped about 15 meters out, close enough that this 5-meter-tall magical predator could turn me into confetti with one pounce. It just sat there, watching. I threw the chicken. The bird flapped wildly through the air. The lion smacked it out of the sky with one paw, sniffed it, looked at me, saw I wasn't doing anything threatening, and started eating. 30 seconds later, one pile of feathers. One very unsatisfied lion. One chicken is basically a breath mint for a creature this size. I went to the storage shed and came back with 2 massive smoked boar legs. Walked even closer this time, close enough to hear the lion's heavy breathing. It stared at me with those dinner plate eyes, tense, uncertain. Behind me, Kylan was white-knuckling her staff, silently chanting a spell, ready to blast the lion if it twitched wrong. I wasn't worried. This thing has been terrified of me since day one. And even if something went sideways, my spirit armor can tank a natural disaster. I'd be fine. But honestly, the real reason I was doing this. Look at this thing. 5 meters of golden fur, enormous mane, those huge round eyes. It's basically a building-sized cat. Fluffy. Is justice. I set one boar leg down. The lion ate it in seconds. Looked at me. I held up the second one. Then slowly, very slowly, reached out my hand toward its mane. The lion rumbled deep in its chest. Low growl. But it didn't move. Didn't snap. Didn't flinch. My hand touched golden fur. It was so soft. Like warm silk mixed with clouds. I gave it a few gentle strokes, set down the second boar leg, and pulled my hand back. Then I turned around, walked back toward Kylan, and gave her a big thumbs up. Nailed it. Behind me, the lion was eating its second leg. In front of me, Kylan had completely stopped functioning. Eyes wide, mouth open, staff still glowing. Brain, offline. I just hand-fed and pet a monster that nearly killed a second-rank archmage yesterday. Is this what being a Disney princess feels like? Because I get IT now. The golden lion, who I've been calling Big Kitty, despite its very obvious objections, showed up every single day to eat my food. My meat supply, which took weeks to build up, was vanishing at an alarming rate. Technically, it was there to guard the thundergrass. But let's be honest, the food was at least 60% of the motivation. I finally snapped, grabbed its mane and shook it. You come here every day? You want me to adopt you? Look, I pointed at the wide-open, tragically empty storage shed. No more meat. You ate it all. Big Kitty tilted its head. An annoyingly cute gesture for a 5-meter killing machine. Looked at me, then bolted into the forest. Birds exploded out of the trees. Something roared. Minutes later, Big Kitty came strutting back like a runway model, dragging an enormous water buffalo-looking creature in its jaws. The guidebook pinged. Kuei ox. Mid-level magical beast. Herd animal. Earth element affinity. It dropped the carcass at my feet and held its head high, tail swishing like, "You're welcome." Impressive. You're officially my hunter now, Big Kitty. Its tail nearly launched into orbit at the compliment. Then it processed the second half of that sentence and deflated like a balloon. The look on its face said, "I just wanted my grass back. How did I get a job?" It grumbled, but didn't protest. I grabbed a cow leg and started walking to the kitchen. Felt resistance. Looked back. Big Kitty had slammed a paw on the carcass and was drawing a line across the belly with one claw. Translation: this half. Mine. Relax, nobody's stealing your food. You've been eating raw meat for years. Let me cook you something for once. It let go, looking skeptical but intrigued. Can't blame it. The smell of my cooking had been torturing its super-powered nose for days. I decided on barbecue. Whole roasted kuei ox. Minimum prep, maximum flavor, and I can share with Big Kitty without making separate portions. Gutted it, cleaned it, then called over my fire starter girl, Kylan, who floated a fireball across every inch of the hide, singeing off all the fur perfectly. I scraped it clean and boom, one ready to roast fantasy cow. The smell as it cooked was unreal. Big Kitty crept closer, eyes glowing, drool literally waterfalling off its mane onto the ground. A puddle formed. Disgusting. Adorable. Come sit, I said. It hesitated, then tiptoed over and sat next to me like a nervous dog at a dinner party. When it reached a paw toward the roasting meat, I smacked it away. Don't touch. Other people have to eat that too. I cut off the bottom half, dropped it in a stone trough. That's your bowl from now on. And it dove in face first. Oil and drool everywhere. Zero table manners. Absolute animal. Literally. Kylan and I ate the good half slowly, cutting thin slices, dipping them in my hand-ground chili powder and rough rock salt. And wow, magical beast meat is on a completely different level. No gamey taste at all, just pure rich flavor. Plus, the residual magic in the meat actually replenished Kylan's depleted power reserves. This roasted kuei ox would sell for at least 300 gold shields in any city, she said between bites. And there'd be a waiting list. If I'd known you needed magic meat, I would have gone hunting for some, she snorted. You? Hunt magical beasts? They'd run away before you got within a mile. Maybe there's one that won't run? She glanced at Big Kitty tearing into a leg bone. Something stronger than a golden lion? Like what, a dragon? A demon spider king. My brain instantly generated an image of me happily jogging home carrying a giant 8-legged spider on my back. That made me think of crab. I wonder if this world has crab. The Thundergrass experiment? Spectacular success. 1 week in, the baby shoots I'd spotted had grown into full plants nearly as big as the original. The mother plant itself doubled in size. I carefully dug around the roots by hand, didn't dare use the hoe near something this precious, and separated the new plants from the parent without damaging anything. For centuries, the greatest scholars, mages, and botanists of this world tried to cultivate magical plants. Simulated environments, magic circles, direct mana infusion, nothing worked. The official scientific consensus was that magical plants simply cannot be artificially grown. I just did it by watering them with a magic watering can. Sometimes the simplest answer is the right one. Kylan had been staying for about 10 days. The thundergrass was successfully grown. She had no more reason to stay. She told me she needed to leave. I dug up the mother plant and handed it to her. Packed her some food for the road. Then Big Kitty and I walked her toward the forest edge. We walked slowly. Nobody said it, but nobody wanted to rush this. Three's company, even when one of the three is a giant cat monster. Near the outer forest, Kylan stopped. This is far enough. The edge isn't dangerous for me, and there are adventurers around. Your lion would cause a panic. Big Kitty huffed and looked away. I don't need to explain myself to anyone. Safe travels, I said. Come visit sometime. She pulled 2 gifts from her ring. A magic scroll containing a basic fireball spell that recharges itself, so you don't have to rub sticks together anymore, and a gray-black communication stone. She had the matching one. Within range, the stones can sense each other. Next time I visit, I'll ping the stone so you can come escort me in. Fighting my way through the whole forest is exhausting. Firestarter Girl gave me a lighter. Perfect parting gift. I put both items in my pouch, then scratched my head awkwardly. Next time you come, could you bring me some salt? She burst out laughing. Absolutely. Then she turned, activated a levitation spell, and floated away until she disappeared. I stood there, hand resting on Big Kitty's mane, feeling weirdly empty. 3 months alone had been fine, but 10 days with a friend made going back to solo life feel quiet. Big Kitty seemed bummed too. Despite the rough start, it had apparently decided Kylan was acceptable for a human female. Hey Big Kitty, give me a ride home, bro? 2 weeks back, after Kylan left, life went back to peaceful routine. Farming, cooking, watering the thundergrass, and hanging out with Big Kitty. The lion kept showing up daily like clockwork. Then something funny happened. I went to dig up the baby thundergrass plants to finally return them. You know, the whole reason this giant cat had been stalking my property. I reached for the plants and Big Kitty shoved me onto my butt. I was ready to throw hands. But it wasn't trying to take them and run. It was blocking me from digging them up. After 10 minutes of charades with a lion, I finally understood. It wanted me to keep growing them. Think about it. The grass is thriving here, getting bigger and better every day. Why drag it back to a random cave where nothing will happen? Leave it with the magical farmer, and by the time you actually need it, your thundergrass might have leveled up twice. You're smarter than you look, Big Kitty, it purred. I pet its ridiculously silky fur. We had a deal. Days turned into weeks. Big Kitty hunted, I farmed and cooked, we ate together. Some nights it didn't even go home, just crashed at my place. So I built it a little shelter next to my window, stuffed with soft rice straw. I could see it napping from my bed. It was basically a house cat now. A house cat the size of a van. Then 3 days ago, Big Kitty didn't come back from hunting. I grabbed my weapon and went looking immediately. Kylan's warning echoed in my head. There are things in this forest just as strong as a golden lion, or stronger. What if something happened? What if it was hurt? What if it just left, and I was alone again? Didn't have to search long. Big Kitty came limping toward me through the trees, one eye half shut, fur scorched and bloody, dragging half a dead bird in its mouth. It saw me, dropped the bird, flopped onto the ground, and started rolling around whining like an oversized kitten. Who did this to you? I checked. All surface wounds, nothing life-threatening, but its beautiful golden coat was singed and dirty. I cleaned it up, washed the wounds, and the second I finished, it shook off the water and marched toward the door, eyes blazing with revenge energy. I bear hugged it. Sit down. Heal first. Here's what happened. Big Kitty ran into its longtime rival during the hunt. They fought. Big Kitty lost, and the rival stole half its prey. That's not just a defeat, that's a lunch money robbery. Big Kitty was absolutely humiliated. I wanted to crack a joke, but those miserable wet eyes were too pathetic. I kept my mouth shut. For the next 2 days, I went hunting myself to let Big Kitty recover. Couldn't catch any magical beasts. They all run from me. So I grabbed extra regular animals and made Big Kitty's favorite, barbecue. Comfort food for a wounded warrior. Magical beasts heal crazy fast. By day 3, Big Kitty was back to full health, and that's when it made its move. I stepped outside this morning, and Big Kitty was sitting at my door with the most serious face I've ever seen on a cat. Before I could say, "Good morning," it grabbed my collar in its teeth, flipped me onto its back, and sprinted into the forest. It wanted me to be its backup. I don't mind helping you fight, but if we just charge in like this, won't your enemy just run? Screch. Big Kitty braked so hard I nearly flew off its face. It stood there, turning in confused circles. It hadn't thought that far ahead. I laughed, jumped down, and tapped its nose. Here's the plan. You go find it. Make some noise, keep it busy. I'll follow on foot. It won't sense me coming until it's too late. Big Kitty nodded, nuzzled my arm, and rocketed into the deep forest. 10 minutes later, boom. Found it. I followed the trail of lightning-scorched grass to the battle. Big Kitty was facing off against a massive red bird. Looked like a crane, but crimson, with bat-like ears and lizard-scale membranes running down its neck and wings. The guidebook identified it as a red feather fire swan. High-level magical beast. Fire element. Big Kitty's arch-nemesis. The fire swan screamed and launched 3 basketball-sized fireballs. But this time, Big Kitty didn't fight back. It just dodged. Leap, roll, sidestep, fireballs cratering the ground behind it, trees exploding, earth scorching black. It was taunting the bird. Deliberately. Every time the fire swan tried to fly away and disengage, Big Kitty would zap it with a tiny, pathetic little lightning bolt to the head. 0 damage. Maximum disrespect. In the monster world, only the strong humiliate the weak. Equals either avoid each other or fight to the death. Getting poked with joke attacks? That's the ultimate insult. The fire swan lost its mind, completely abandoned aerial advantage, landed on the ground, and started chasing Big Kitty through the trees in a blind rage, stabbing and biting at everything, fire everywhere. Its danger instincts? Gone. Its tactical awareness? Deleted. Nothing left but fury. Big Kitty slowed down just enough. The fire swan locked on, charged full speed, ready to ram Big Kitty into oblivion, and Big Kitty sidestepped. Standing right behind where Big Kitty had been? Me. Holding the biggest, ugliest battle axe the shape-shifting tool had ever produced. Already mid-swing. Surprise, moth. So there I was, hiding behind Big Kitty, holding the biggest axe the shape-shifting tool had ever produced, watching a furious firebird charge straight at us at full speed. Big Kitty dodged. The bird did not expect what was behind him. Me. Axe. Full swing. Apparently, when I attack, there's some kind of terrifying phantom silhouette behind me that mirrors my movements, but gigantic. I didn't know this. The fire swan definitely noticed, but way too late. The axe met neck. The neck lost. The bird's head flew through the air in a graceful arc, honestly kind of beautiful in a horrible way, while the body stumbled forward a few more steps before crashing down. Blood hissed and sizzled on the grass, because of course firebird blood is literally hot. I exhaled. My hands were shaking. Sure, I might be demigod strong, but this was my first real face-to-face monster fight. My heart was doing drum solos. Big Kitty trotted over, picked up the severed head in its mouth, laid it at my feet, then backed up and laid down respectfully. My kill, my trophy. Lion honor code. I loaded up and we headed home. Me riding, Big Kitty carrying the body. But the forest had noticed our little performance. Shadows moved in the trees. A leopard with wings and a snake tail circled overhead. An ape with sword-length fangs hung upside down from a branch, watching. A spiky lizard thing trailed behind us at a. I'm not following you. I'm just going the same direction, distance. Scavengers. Waiting to see if we were weak enough to rob. I gripped my axe tight. Cold sweat on my forehead. But Big Kitty? Strutting like a runway model. Deliberately walking slower. Flexing. Yeah, we just killed your neighbor. What about it? Eventually they all slunk away. We made it home. I stripped the fire swan for parts. Feathers, scales, claws. All saved for Kylan to trade later. The skull became a decoration hanging from my roof because nothing says, "Welcome to my home," like a monster head over the door. The meat became dinner for days. Verdict: tastes like goose. Pretty good actually. Big Kitty ate over half the bird, then crawled into its shelter and went completely still. At first I panicked. Then I checked, breathing steady, heartbeat strong, body glowing with golden magical energy. Something was happening. Something big. My childhood brain activated instantly. I saw it. Big Kitty standing on a glowing platform, spinning, a beam of light shooting down from the sky, mysterious symbols floating around it. Golden lion. Digivolve Tiolo. Big Kitty opened one eye and stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Cough. Never mind. For days it didn't move. Didn't eat. Didn't drink. The golden glow turned orange-red. Its horns shrank, but got thicker and denser. Dark gold patterns started appearing in its fur like tattoos, with little sparks and flames flickering across them. I stood nearby with a watering can, mainly worried it would set my house on fire. Thankfully, magical energy doesn't seem to burn normal stuff. Small mercies. Then one night, I was having a wonderful dream about playing cards with pretty ladies. A roar shook me awake. The kind that vibrates your skeleton. I ran outside. There was Big Kitty, bathed in moonlight, looking absolutely magnificent. Flames wrapping its legs, lightning dancing around its body, eyes burning with royal authority, staring directly at me, not moving. I summoned a war hammer. It crashed to the ground. I gripped it one-handed. Did you go evil? I thought. Because if this is a betrayal arc, I should probably swing first and ask questions never. Then Big Kitty dropped all the special effects, bounced over like an excited puppy, and headbutted me straight in the chest. It was showing off. That's it. The whole dramatic, intimidating display was just, look at me. Look how cool I am now. It licked my entire face. Repeatedly. That's disgusting. Get OFF. Your breath smells like raw bird. The guidebook chimed in. Flame golden lion. Evolved form of golden lion. Requires absorbing massive quantities of other element magic. Evolution typically fails because the forced weakness state during transformation leaves the lion vulnerable to ambush. Big Kitty got impossibly lucky. Normally, after a battle that intense, both sides are drained. The loser's magic barely covers the winner's losses, with nothing left over for evolution. But our little ambush plan meant Big Kitty used almost zero energy in the fight. Plus, I cooked the fire swan meat with my shape-shifting tool, which buffed the magical content even further. And during the vulnerable transformation days, my invisible terror aura kept every predator in the forest far away. Perfect conditions. 1 in a million odds. Achieved through teamwork and barbecue. Then came the serious moment. I held Big Kitty's enormous head in both hands. It was the size of a millstone, and looked it in the eyes. Do you want to stay with me? Permanently, it hesitated. And I understood why. In the monster world, taming means slavery. Collar, chains, obedience. Big Kitty would rather die than wear a leash. It tried to explain by wrapping a vine around its own neck, then furiously shredding it to pieces. Message received, loud and clear. I gently picked the vine scraps out of its mane and spoke softly. I would never enslave you. You're not a pet. We're partners, friends, brothers. You're free to leave whenever you want. Just tell me first. Big Kitty tackled me to the ground and licked my face until I was drowning in lion spit. Okay, I get it. Stop, please. After I escaped the affection assault, I said, you need a real name. I can't keep calling you Big Kitty. How about Pig Kitty? Growl. Kidding. How about Perkunas? It's the name of the thunder god from my world. God of lightning, craftsmanship, harvest, and war. Purr for short. May you become as powerful as him. Big Kitty. Purr. Nodded solemnly. Approved. We stood together in the dawn light, watching the sunrise paint the world gold. A farmer in simple clothes and a flame golden lion with fur like living fire. New chapter. New name. New beginning. He still has terrible breath though. 2 months since Purr evolved. Life has been productive. I expanded the territory to a 70-meter radius, almost double the original size. Purr moved all his stuff from his old cave to my place, which meant I scored several new magical plants to experiment with. He also eats human food now. All of it. Without complaint. Do you know how much a 5-meter fire lion eats? My fields couldn't keep up. Every inch of land around the house was already planted. The warehouse was bursting. I needed more space. So, Lumberjack Mode 2.0, now featuring a magical fire lion as my assistant. What used to take me weeks took days. New fields everywhere, neat and ready for planting. I also finally tackled the irrigation problem. Before, I'd been hauling water back and forth like a medieval delivery service. Fill giant stone jars, stuff them in the magic pouch, carry them home, repeat forever. With double the farmland? No way. So I built a bamboo pipeline system from the stream. Automatic irrigation. Science wins again. With water handled, I finally had time for my next project, figuring out how to make bricks out of mud. Real construction. Real progress. I was mid-experiment, hands covered in clay, when Kylan's communication stone started humming. She's coming back. I yelled for Purr, shoved the stone in my pocket, vaulted onto his back, and we charged toward the forest edge. When we found her, she wasn't alone. 4 adventurers in full gear surrounded her. A massive old warrior named Toma carrying a hammer and tower shield, a cocky young hunter named Seagull with a bow, a blonde knight in silver armor with a hand permanently glued to his sword, and a black-robed nun bringing up the rear. Behind them, about 10 beast folk women, animal ears on top of their heads, wearing rough fur clothing, some visibly injured, struggling to keep up. That was a lot of people. Questions for later. The knight was getting nervous. Kylan, we can't go deeper. Someone's coming to meet us, she said, rubbing her temples. Seagull the hunter scoffed. A hermit living in the deep devil's forest? Are you sure you didn't eat some bad mushrooms? Old man Toma barked at him. Shut up and stay alert. Relax, old-timer. Hunters have the best danger sense. I can detect a monster's aura from hundreds of meters, and that is when Purr and I arrived. Our combined aura hit them like a freight train. Seagull, mid-sentence, mid-brag, went from, I fear nothing, to fumbling his bow off his back with shaking hands. Toma threw up his shield and charged to the front line. The knight drew his sword in a flash. The nun started hurting the beast folk women behind cover. Toma was gripping his shield so hard his hands trembled. Later I learned he'd fought near-death battles with giant polar serpents and lived. And he said my aura was worse than anything he'd ever felt. Meanwhile, Kylan, she relaxed. First calm breath she'd taken in days. Purr walked out of the trees like a king entering his throne room. Massive, orange gold, fur blazing, horns gleaming. Total apex predator energy. Seagull drew his bow. The knight raised his sword. The nun started chanting. Kylan threw herself in front of them, arms spread wide. Stop, and Purr, my beautiful, ridiculous, 5-meter fire lion, opened his mouth and said in human words, don't attack. We're friendlies. What? Since when can he talk? I almost fell off his back. Apparently evolution came with a language upgrade nobody told me about. The tension cracked. Purr bounded forward and bonked Kylan's shoulder with his nose like an excited golden retriever. I hopped off his back, walked up with my friendliest smile. Long time no see, Kylan. These your friends? I gave her a hug, waved at the shell-shocked adventurers. They just stood there, brains visibly rebooting. In the span of 10 seconds, they'd experienced mortal terror, a talking lion, and a casually smiling farmer emerging from the deadliest forest on the continent. Toma recovered first. Old soldiers adapt fast. He planted his shield and gave an awkward wave back. Good man. Let's not chat here, Kylan said. Can we rest at your place? Of course. We headed back. With Per and me leading, not a single creature dared approach. Kylan cast speed boost spells on everyone, and we made great time. Then we broke through the tree line into my territory, and every single person stopped walking. Neat rows of crops. A cozy wooden cabin. Storage shed. Chicken pen. Bamboo irrigation pipes. Flower garden. A monster skull decoration over the door. Absolute farmstead perfection in the middle of Hell Forest. Their faces were priceless. The gap between certain death wilderness and charming countryside homestead broke something in their brains. It was like walking through a wardrobe and finding Narnia, except Narnia has excellent agriculture. The cabin was way too small for this many people, so everyone sat on the ground outside. Thank God I'd been making clay cups as a hobby. At least I could offer everyone water. Basic hospitality, maintained. The adventurers sat in a cluster, staring blankly at my vegetable rows, quietly having existential crises. The beast folk women huddled together while the nun tended their wounds. Per, meanwhile, noticed the beast folk women's animal ears. His own ears perked up. He crept up behind one of them and gently poked her ear with his paw pad. Beast folk ears are apparently very sensitive. She turned around, came face to face with a lion head the size of her entire torso. She screamed loud enough to shatter glass and fainted on the spot. Thud. Everyone looked. Per was lying flat on the ground with the most innocent, I didn't do anything, wasn't me, don't know her, expression I've ever seen on a lion. I covered my face. Per, come here. You're scaring people. Then I turned back to Kylan and the real conversation began. So these beast folk women, you rescued them? So here's what Kylan told me while everyone was sitting in my yard, drinking water from my handmade clay cups like it was a very sad picnic. 2 weeks ago, her adventure team, the Silver Hand, took a 4-star escort mission to the Ogurii tribal nation, a country made entirely of beast folk. The team roster sounds like a fantasy diversity brochure. Toma the dwarf warrior, Seagull the halfling hunter, and Elaine and Colton, half-elf siblings, a nun and a knight. Plus Kylan, the human mage. Every race represented. Very inclusive. Quick sidebar. Apparently mages in this world are simultaneously the richest and poorest people alive. Every potion and staff they make sells for a fortune. But one fight can burn through 3 potions, 2 scrolls, and destroy a staff. It's like being a millionaire who spends $2 million a week. Some genius named Peleron fixed this centuries ago by teaching all mages to craft their own gear, bankrupting the price-gouging merchants, and founding an entire kingdom for mages. Legend. They named the country after him, Kylan's homeland. Anyway, the Silver Hand delivered their scholar client, didn't get a return trip bonus because the guy was cheap, and decided to do some tourism in beastfolk territory. The Ogurii tribal nation sits on the northwest edge of Devil's Forest, basically the front line against monster invasions. They've held this position for 3 centuries. Every attack, every monster wave, they've survived. Tough people. The other 5 kingdoms send them aid and trade deals out of pure respect. Then the exception happened. Kylan's team was in a catfolk town, drinking some kind of catnip milk tea. Yes, really, when chaos erupted. Screaming. Running. Soldiers retreating into the city covered in wounds. Morale completely shattered. They ran outside to help. The battlefield was carnage. The beastfolk army was getting destroyed, but there was no monster horde. No visible enemy. It looked like they were fighting nothing. Then a shadow blocked out the sun. A dragon. Black scales. Lion's body. Lizard head. Bat wings spanning dozens of meters. One creature, blotting out the entire sky. Kylan gave me the history lesson. Dragons are basically gods. 1,000 years ago, the red dragon Salazar ruled half the continent with fire. 600 years ago, the white dragon Noel froze the entire northern region in a single breath. It's still frozen. 400 years ago, the blue dragon Turia raised tsunamis to stop anyone from crossing the ocean. Over time, civilizations got strong enough to negotiate instead of grovel. The dragons mellowed out. Trade deals with the red dragon. Exploration rights in the white dragon's ice lands. The blue dragon even opened shipping lanes. Dragon attacks basically stopped. Peace. Until now. A black dragon nobody had ever seen before showed up and started leveling everything. Kylan's team couldn't fight it. They'd be insects to that thing. So they did what they could. Mages built barriers. Warriors evacuated civilians. Archers harassed from a distance. Healers patched up the wounded. Just when things looked hopeless, the beast folk's elite arrived. Great druids, the highest-ranked nature mages. Also tribal elders called sages. They slammed into the dragon with green energy blasts, summoned tree giants, shape-shifted into massive beasts. The dragon decided it wasn't worth the trouble, spat one last breath of destruction, and flew away. Damage, catastrophic. Among the victims was a tiny catfolk tribe living on the border. Only a few dozen members total. When the dragon hit, their men fought to buy time for the women to escape. The men didn't make it. Now these girls had nothing. No home. No family. No tribe would take them in. That's not how beastfolk politics work. Their options were selling themselves or death. Kylan walked up to the oldest-looking survivor, put a hand on her shoulder, and said, "If you trust me, I know a place." And that is how a white-robed mage decided to bring 10 homeless cat girls to the doorstep of a farmer living in the most dangerous forest on the planet. Me. She brought them to me. I looked at the group of scared, injured women with animal ears sitting in my yard. Looked at my little cabin. Looked at my 1-acre vegetable garden. Looked at Purr, who had just made one of them faint by sniffing her ear. I took a sip of my flavorless hot water. Guess I'm not a solo farmer anymore. So you just brought them here. I raised an eyebrow at Kylan. What am I, a homeless shelter? I'm sorry, I know it's a lot to ask. She launched into a full explanation. She wasn't asking me to support them, just provide safe land. She'd buy the fields and seeds herself. Her team would stay to help set things up. Nobody's freeloading. Very thorough pitch. Very well rehearsed. I said nothing. The silence went on long enough to get uncomfortable. Then I stood up, called Purr over, and got serious. I named him Perkunas, the thunder god. 2 months ago, we killed a red feather fire swan together. He evolved. He's powerful now. Kylan looked confused. That's great. But why are you? I let my aura loose. The full thing. The invisible demigod pressure that makes apex predators wet themselves. Purr started shaking. The blonde knight grabbed his sword. Old Toma threw an arm out to stop him. Kylan couldn't look me in the eye. Kylan, this is the deep devil's forest. Monsters that could eat you for breakfast live everywhere around us. Sure, these women can live in my territory, but then what? They stay trapped in my little circle forever? When you leave, who protects them? Who helps them expand? Who stops the next monster from wandering in? Every question landed like a hammer. Kylan had no answer. She bowed deeply. You're right. I was being naive. I'll take them and go. She turned away, looking like someone who'd just watched her last good idea die. I didn't say I won't take them. She whipped around. I was smiling again. Friendly farmer mode. Reactivated. I just wanted you to understand. This isn't as simple as dropping people off. We need a real plan. I left her standing there with her emotions doing gymnastics and went to introduce myself to everyone else. The adventure party was still mentally buffering, so I got polite robot nods from them. Then I walked over to the catfolk girls. I'm Yiqing. You'll stay here for now. Don't worry, it's safe. The tallest girl, Patty, stepped forward and gave me the most formal bow I've ever received. Thank you for your mercy and kindness, Lord Yiqing. My sisters and I will serve you faithfully. Lord? Serve? No, 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 no. I'm not a lord. Nobody's serving anybody. Just live here. Be comfortable. A tiny cat girl hiding behind Patty poked her head out. That's not allowed. Grandpa Chief always said everything must be exchanged. I tried explaining. They weren't having it. Kylan rescued me from the cultural negotiation before I lost my mind. Then Purr tugged my sleeve. All right. Everyone was starving. Barbecue time. I pulled out the stockpile. Magical beast meats, vegetables, the works. Laid it all out by the fire. The adventurer's jaws dropped so hard they nearly dislocated. Siegel looked at the spread, then looked at his wallet, and you could see him doing math he did not want to be doing. Colton, the knight who apparently moonlights as an appraiser, pointed at one of the carcasses. Mountain camel sheep. Its wool is luxury textile material. Its hide makes mid-grade scroll parchment. Its horns are ground into stamina potions. The meat is rich in magical energy. A specimen this size? Easily 200 gold shields. Seagull, if we sold you, you still couldn't afford one serving of this lamb, Elaine the nun said without missing a beat. Savage. It's free. Eat. There's more. I waved it off. Friends don't charge friends. Kylan pulled out her gifts. Dozens of bags of real salt, finally, plus spices I didn't have. Toma and the others followed. Beer, dairy products, fabric, new seeds, and several magical plants. Those magical plants were the real prize. Kylan's team had apparently gone broke buying them. The whole Silver Hand squad, nearly bankrupt for my farming experiments. I was touched and slightly horrified at their financial decisions. What am I supposed to do with these? I asked, pointing at the magic plants. Business proposition. Kylan's eyes lit up. You grow them. We sell them. Profits split 70 to 30. Oh, the Thundergrass success had paid off. It helped Kylan pass her mage advancement exam. She was one test away from purple robe status. Now she wanted to scale up. I don't need money. Keep my share. No, you will need money eventually. And you clearly have no idea how valuable your stuff is. I'm not letting you get ripped off, even by friends. Especially by friends. Fair point. Even best friends should keep clean books. Fine, but 30% seems too high for me. Just give me a small. No? The 30% is OURS. You get 70%. What? Turns out, a regular ice crystal flower sells for 40 gold shields. My tool-grown version? Better quality, higher quantity, probably 100 gold shields each. And that's just one type of plant. Then I remembered something. I reached into my magic pouch and dumped a mountain of red feathers on the ground. How much are these worth? Colton teleported across the yard. Snatched up a feather as long as his arm, hands trembling. These are red feather fire swan plumes? Each one sells for 100 gold shields on the open market. How do you have this many? I've been using them as pillow stuffing. I had been sleeping on a fortune. I just smiled at Kylan. Okay, here's my counteroffer. 70 to 30 is fine. You're my official sales agent from now on. But any magical materials your team actually needs, take them first, free. Sell whatever's left. That's too generous. We can't. What am I going to do with feathers? Decorate? And plants take time to grow anyway. So let's sell the stockpile first to get some working capital. After some back and forth, she caved. I was satisfied. Zero-cost business, reliable partner, and I traded stuff I literally had no use for. This is what they call a win-win. Or in my case, a win-win-win, because I also finally had salt. That night, everyone gathered around the bonfire. Barbecue sizzling, beer flowing, actual beer, stories and laughter filling the air. Even the catfolk girls relaxed a little, eating real food for the first time in who knows how long. The shadow of the dragon disaster still hung over everyone. But for one night, around one fire, in the middle of the most dangerous forest on the planet, things felt okay. Tomorrow the sun would rise, and there'd be work to do. Houses to build, fields to plant, cat girls to untraumatize, a business empire to accidentally launch. But tonight we eat. I woke up to something I hadn't experienced in months. Other people doing things. Kylan was using magic to levitate wood into house frames. Toma was splitting logs with military precision, muscles bulging like a dwarf-shaped tank. Elaine was healing the cat girl's wounds with green, glowing hands. And Colton and Siegel were squatting in my field, poking my crops and scribbling notes like two farm inspectors who'd just discovered alien technology. It was beautiful. People, activity, life. Years from now, whenever anyone asks me why I took in a bunch of strangers, I'll remember this exact morning and give the only honest answer. I was just afraid of being alone. Everyone slept great, apparently. Toma, the grizzled old dwarf warrior who normally needs sleeping potions because decades of combat gave him chronic insomnia, said he hadn't slept that well in years. Something about my territory just calms people down. Probably the same aura that terrifies monsters. Apparently it works in reverse for friendlies. You're safe. Sleep. After breakfast, we planned. We expand, I said. Simple. Direct. These cat girls aren't sleeping in tents on my lawn forever. Kylan wanted to build one big barrack-style cabin. I shut that down immediately. Living conditions matter. I still have nightmares about my old one-room apartment back on Earth. Dark, Damp, cramped, soul-crushing. Nobody under my roof is living like that. Proper rooms, proper space, proper homes. So I grabbed my trusty axe and marched toward the trees. Kylan followed, curious to see the great and powerful Yi Ching in action. I planted my feet, muscles taut, and swung. Crack. Tree down. Crack. Another one. Crack, crack, crack. A whole row. Dust flying, with splintering, pure lumberjack energy. I was feeling pretty good about myself. Then Kylan stopped me. This is how you cut trees. Yeah? How else would you cut trees? She stepped forward, raised one hand, and a brilliant white crescent of pure magical energy screamed out of her palm like a horizontal guillotine. It sliced through 5 massive trees at once, clean through the middle, trunks sliding apart, crowns crashing down in a spectacular avalanche of leaves and sawdust. I stood there with my mouth open and my axe dangling at my side like a complete idiot. These trees are unusually hard, she said casually. Normally my blade cuts even further. She looked at my axe, looked at me, sighed. You're so powerful that I assumed you had some incredible technique. Turns out you're just actually chopping with an axe, one tree at a time. I felt like a guy who'd been proudly washing dishes by hand while a dishwasher sat right there. For months. I keep telling you, I don't know magic. I've never learned any. You don't need to learn it. Magical affinity is innate. Even someone who's never studied can feel the connection to magic. You've really never felt anything? Nope. Nothing. Zero. I'm magically illiterate. Awkward silence. Then Colton spoke up from nearby. He'd been eavesdropping. Kylan, do you remember the ancient texts about the giant race? Oh boy. Story time. According to the old books, before current civilization existed, the world belonged to giants. 100-meter-tall beings. No magic whatsoever. Just pure physical power so absurd they could split mountains and cross oceans on foot. Lava couldn't burn them. Ice couldn't freeze them. Dragons were their pets. The terrifying monsters that rule the forests today, those were just their lunch. Eventually, the giants got bored of being invincible and decided to fight the gods. Let that sink in. They literally declared war on heaven. Nobody knows what happened in that battle. The ancient texts describe it in like 2 sentences, the literary equivalent of, and then things got crazy. After the war, the giants vanished completely. The battle reshaped the entire planet's geography and shattered the food chain. Without giants keeping them in check, monsters ran wild, and the smaller races had to claw their way up from nothing to build civilization. Gods, I muttered, picturing a certain silver-haired woman who liked to prank people and hand out demigod stat packages. Kylan was shaking her head frantically. That's impossible. Giants are just a legend. There's zero proof they existed. Even the dragons deny it. Colton smiled coolly. You think proud dragons would admit they used to be someone's pets? Good point. I'm not saying Yi Ching is a giant, Colton clarified. Just that his situation, immense physical power, zero magical ability, matches the ancient descriptions. Meanwhile, me, the subject of this mythological debate, was thinking about something entirely different. 100 meters tall? How much food would you need to eat per day at that size? Kylan and Colton both stared at me in unified exasperation. That's your takeaway from the ancient mystery of your possible heritage? Look, I'm a farmer. Food logistics is my thing. Anyway, I'm definitely not a giant. I'm a regular human from Earth who got stat boosted by a bored space god, but I can't exactly tell them that. So the mystery remains, and we got back to work. The expansion continued. Everyone had their role. Everyone stayed busy. And is Yi Ching a mythical being? Conversation became just another weird lunchtime topic in the world's strangest homestead. Remember how I spent weeks failing to make bricks out of mud? Couldn't control the temperature, couldn't build a proper kiln. Every brick came out either too soft or cracked like a dry riverbed. Well, having friends with actual skills changes everything. Kylan carved a fire magic circle onto a stone slab with an auto-recharging crystal. Boom! Instant temperature-controlled kiln. Colton taught me how to measure air humidity and test brick moisture content using evaporation timing. And Toma, with his dwarf engineering genes, optimized the entire brickmaking process so every mold came out perfect. First batch, flawless. And by adjusting the crystal's energy output, we could even make different colored bricks. I went from man who can't make one brick to man with a rainbow brick factory in one afternoon. The cat girls learned fast too. Even little Melita, the youngest, mastered molding and humidity testing. Beastfolk work ethic is no joke. Then came the moment of truth. I tore down my beloved wooden cabin. Zero sadness. Even the 3 little pigs knew brick beats wood. Sorry, little house. You serve me well. Time to upgrade. We built proper brick houses, single story, because without steel and concrete, I didn't trust a second floor not to collapse and kill someone. Several small houses for everyone, arranged around my larger central house, plus a separate warehouse area with room for future expansion. Magic manpower equals construction speedrun. The whole project took about a month. When it was done, every single person had their own proper home with real walls, real furniture, real everything. Kylan felt guilty that I was being too generous. I felt grateful that I wasn't building alone anymore. We were both being awkward about it, so we just ate dinner and moved on. Speaking of my house, it's big, 5-meter ceilings. Because Per insisted on living with me, and Per is a 5-meter fire lion. I also built a 5 by 5 meter bed. By hand. Yes, a bed the size of a small apartment. Because who wouldn't want a giant fluffy fire lion as a sleeping buddy? Siegel went to town during the construction period to sell materials and buy supplies. He came back with an actual set of proper bedding, sheets, pillows, blankets, the works. Apparently, the shopkeepers thought he was a crazy rich kid with bizarre taste because he kept asking for the biggest bed set you have, and then bigger. He was the talk of the town for weeks. Worth it. That bed is glorious. That evening, after a big celebratory dinner, I went to check the warehouse for spoiled food, then headed to bed. Per was acting weird, sitting by the window staring at the moon instead of hogging the mattress like usual. I called him over. He just twitched an ear and kept moon-gazing. Weird, but Per never hides problems. If something's wrong, he comes straight to me. I shrugged and crawled into my luxurious new bed. Wind rustling through the trees. Perfect temperature. Eyes getting heavy. Then something moved under my blanket. Something soft. Something smooth. Something that was definitely not a fire lion. I ripped the blanket back. Patty, the tall cat girl, in my bed, wearing absolutely nothing. 2 amber cat eyes glowing in the dark like headlights. I put the blanket back down. Shook my head. Clearly I opened the bed wrong. Let me try again. Pulled the blanket back. Patty's ears twitched. A slender hand reached up and touched my chest. What the? I launched myself off the bed like I'd been electrocuted. Patty sat up, long hair draped artfully over herself, the blanket doing the absolute minimum. I wanted a fluffy bed buddy. I got a catgirl bed buddy. The upgrade was not authorized. Don't move. I grabbed my jacket off the chair and threw it at her before the moonlight revealed anything else my brain couldn't handle. What is happening right now? Here's what happened, as I later pieced together. After dinner, the catgirls held a secret meeting. Topic: how do we repay Lord Yiqing? Little Melita suggested just living well like I asked. She was overruled. Someone proposed they all go at once because his bed is big enough. Someone else correctly identified this as insane. Final decision: Patty goes first. As a scout, I guess. She snuck to my door where Per was on guard. Per blocked her. She did charades, pointing at herself, pointing at the door, miming sleep, tugging her clothes. And Per, my loyal companion, my battle partner, my brother, understood exactly what she meant and let her in. He even wagged his tail. I turned around and smacked him on the head. He flattened to the floor instantly, playing dead. He knew he was guilty. The commotion woke up the neighbors. Kylan came over. Everything okay? Fine. Per had a nightmare. I slapped him awake. Go back to sleep. Per whimpered under my glare. We will discuss this later, my eyes said. I turned back to Patty, keeping my eyes firmly pointed at the ceiling. Please get dressed. I don't need you to serve me, but we want to repay you. Her voice cracked, tears welling up. We're a lowly race with nothing to offer. Our bodies are all we have. My heart broke a little. But my answer didn't change. Patty, listen to me. I didn't take you in for repayment. Everyone deserves to live. Everyone should value themselves. You are not a payment. You are a person. Understand? She nodded, not fully understanding but accepting. I walked her to the door. Don't do this again. After she left, I looked at Per, still pancaked on the floor. Get up. Bed. Now, he zoomed onto the mattress, curled up, and offered me his tail as a hug pillow. Peace offering accepted. Barely. That night, the pretty dream ladies did not come to play cards with me. I wonder why. I sat in bed with the darkest eye bags of my entire life. Didn't sleep at all. Every time I closed my eyes, my brain helpfully replayed every Catgirl repays her savior comic I'd ever read in my previous life. I am a good person, a moral person, a modern young man of principles. Knock, knock, knock. I opened the door. 10 Catgirls standing in a perfect line. Ears perked, smiling. In unison. Good morning, Lord Yi Ching. My principles wavered. Patty stepped forward with a towel and cup, beaming like last night never happened. I'm here to help you wash up, my lord. Turns out, after last night's rejection, the Catgirls held another secret meeting. Good news. No more sneaking into my bed. Bad news. They unanimously decided to serve me in every other way. Cooking, cleaning, dressing, grooming, the full royal treatment. I fought back. I resisted. I said no repeatedly. But there were 10 of them and 1 of me, and I was terrified of actually hurting their feelings, so eventually I just sat in the chair like a defeated king while someone brushed my hair and someone else polished my shoes. Kylan watched this from the doorway, grinning like a cat. Ironic, given the circumstances. You look like you're really suffering. This is not funny. It's completely normal to serve your lord. Honestly, if one of them ended up in your bed, I wouldn't even be surprised. Her smile was way too knowing. I tried to change the subject. She let me, but I could feel her smirking with her entire soul. Later I found out that Kylan's entire team had been hiding by the window last night, watching the whole Patty incident like it was evening entertainment. Siegel apparently commented, "Wow, that was fast." Kylan smacked him. She trusted my character though. We'd lived alone together for 10 days, and I never made a single move. That was actually one of her reasons for bringing the Catgirls here. She knew I'd behave. Embarrassing? Yes, but also kind of nice. I compromised with the Catgirls. No personal care. I dress myself. I wash myself. You can help clean the house and take turns doing it. Patty, make a schedule. They accepted. Barely. Progress. Now for the important stuff. Time to sell our stockpile. The Silver Hand Squad headed to Toria City, a massive trading hub jointly built by Peleron Kingdom and the Elven Kingdom of Alfur, right on the edge of Devil's Forest. 3 of the 5 great nations border the forest, and Toria has the biggest adventurer market of all the border towns. We split into 3 teams for maximum efficiency and minimum suspicion. Kylan sells the magical plants. Her mage credentials open doors. Siegel and Colton sell the monster materials. Combat professionals carrying rare loot raises no eyebrows. Toma and Elaine handle shopping. An elegant young lady with a grizzled old attendant looks like rich noble family on a buying spree. Perfect cover. We only sold a fraction of our inventory, 2 or 3 magic plants at a time, half the monster parts. Keep it low-key. Don't attract attention. It didn't work. The magic plants caused a sensation. The stuff I grew with my tool is apparently way beyond normal quality. What should be 50-year specimens look like 100-year specimens. Every time Kylan walked into the trading house, people swarmed. By the 3rd day, buyers were camping at the exchange, waiting for her to show up. Bidding wars erupted. Merchants who couldn't decide fast enough sent runners home to get authorization. Then things escalated. 2 of our purple flame vines, which I'd grown casually in my garden like they were tomatoes, ended up in the hands of Liam, the city's resident guardian mage. An elven mage. Certified purple robe over 150 years ago. Rumored to have soloed a spider dungeon and negotiated face-to-face with a dragon. His apprentice Late bought the vines at auction for 2,000 gold shields, double the asking price, and everyone backed off out of respect. When Liam saw what he'd bought, his jaw nearly hit the floor. 100-year purple flame vine? Where did these come from? He almost stormed out to find Kylan personally. Then caught himself. Barging in is not what an elegant mage does, sat back down, and called for his private seal to write a formal invitation letter instead. Classy. Meanwhile, our team noticed the heat. Suspicious people lurking near our inn. Merchants approaching us on the street. Too much attention. We need to leave. Now, Kylan said. Elaine didn't understand the danger. Sweet girl, always protected by her brother and teammates. Siegel, usually the joker, went dead serious. Inside the city walls, we're fine. Outside, we'd be ambushed nonstop. People would kill for this kind of supply line. It could even put Yi Ching in danger, Toma added. While they were debating escape plans, someone knocked on the door. A hotel employee with a letter. Colton retrieved it with maximum paranoia. Ear to the door, waiting for footsteps to fade, cracking the door just enough to snatch the envelope off the floor. No decorations. Just one wax seal with an unusual pattern. Colton studied it. Elven insignia. Can't tell whose. Kylan checked for magical traps, clean, and opened it. Beautiful handwriting on fancy paper. Dear esteemed colleague, greetings. I am Liam, guardian mage of Toria City. I cordially invite you to an invitation from the most powerful mage in the city. The guy rumored to fight dragons. Either this is very good or very, very bad. So while I was back home watering plants and being aggressively served breakfast by cat girls, Kylan's team was in Toria City accidentally becoming the biggest news story of the year. Here's what she told me when she got back. They went to meet this guy Liam, an elven mage who's been certified purple robe for over 150 years. Rumors say he soloed a spider dungeon and chatted with dragons as equals. In reality, he visited a dragon's palace once as part of a diplomatic group, and the spider fight left him with permanent magical injuries that stopped his growth forever. Now he's a researcher obsessed with magical crafting. He invited Kylan's team to his house on the edge of the city. His apprentice Late met them at the door, led them upstairs, where Liam was desperately pretending he hadn't just been pacing around the room like an excited puppy. Kylan skipped all small talk. What do you want? Liam almost choked on his tea. Kids these days. I need those magic plants for my research. Do you have more? Not right now. We can sell to you first next time? That wasn't enough for him. He pulled out the 2 purple flame vines he'd bought and started telling a story. 100 years ago, he visited the Red Dragon's treasure vault. Mountains of gold, legendary artifacts everywhere, and magical plants just tossed in random piles like they were weeds. He'd touched a 600-year-old purple flame vine there. It had enormous magical energy, he said, but it was full of impurities from its environment. Your 2 vines? They're purer than a dragon's treasure. Something about where they grew produced plants of impossible quality. Kylan's hand tightened on her staff. He'd figured out too much. This was supposed to be a simple sell-and-leave operation. Don't be nervous, Liam smiled. I just want to know where you found them. It must be somewhere in Devil's Forest, right? A pure magical source zone. Can you take me there? I'm a scholar. Nothing excites me more than. Then he went full maniac mode. Eyes wild, notebook out of nowhere, talking 1,000,000 words per minute about magical theory and source zones. And his apprentice Late face-bombed, grabbed a green potion, walked over, and shoved the entire bottle into Liam's mouth. Sorry, he has old injuries. His magic destabilizes when he gets excited. The legendary purple robe mage was now gagging on a potion bottle while his apprentice held it in place. He started blowing bubbles. Nobody in Kylan's team knew how to react. A few minutes later, Liam was back in his chair, perfectly composed, elegant smile restored, acting like nothing happened. So, about that location, Kylan shook her head. Why not? I'll swear an oath of secrecy. Devil's Forest is unclaimed territory. You can't just. That area has an owner. Full stop. Liam blinked for a solid 10 seconds. An owner? In Devil's Forest? That's impossible. No nation claims it. Even dragons haven't claimed it. What? Is the owner a monster? You're making this up. So Kylan did what Kylan does best. She told a story. A story about being chased by a monster deep into the forest, where she discovered a mysterious hermit of unfathomable power. So terrifying that every creature in the forest fears him. A being who makes crops grow in 10 days and can mass-produce magical plants that the entire continent considers impossible to cultivate. She laid it on thick. And Liam bought it. The 150-year-old genius scholar who's seen dragons and dungeons and survived wars just nodded seriously and said, yes, that makes sense. Kylan couldn't believe it worked. But honestly, Liam had spent his whole life believing Devil's Forest held secrets beyond imagination. She basically confirmed his childhood theory. Could I possibly meet this powerful being? I can't decide that. I'd have to ask. Fair enough. Liam proposed a deal. He'd personally escort the Silver Hand team out of the city safely. Solving their "people are stalking us" problem. And in exchange, Kylan would request an audience on his behalf. Deal. Easy. I can always say no. They loaded up on giant tamed eagles, swift hawks, wingspan of 10+ meters, and flew toward Devil's Forest. When they got close, Kylan pinged me with the communication stone and silently prayed I wouldn't come personally. If the mysterious all-powerful hermit turns out to be a cheerful farmer in overalls, the whole mystique collapses. Smart move. I sent Per instead. Per burst out of the trees like a golden comet. Liam's reaction was instant. Staff up, battle stance, zero hesitation. A flame golden lion? In the outer forest? Everyone back. I'll handle this. Got to respect the old man. Most people would have just screamed. Kylan grabbed his arm. Relax. That's the hermit's messenger. Liam watched, jaw slowly dropping, as Kylan walked up to the terrifying apex predator and pernuzzled her like a happy dog. The communication stones around their necks glowed brighter as they got closer. A top-tier high-level magical beast. Serving as a messenger, Liam stroked his beard. Young lady, your story just became significantly more believable. He agreed to wait at the forest edge while Kylan's team followed Per back to my place. The old elf pulled a luxury camping tent out of his storage device and set it up like this was a vacation. I was an adventurer once. The outer forest won't bother me, so now there's a legendary elven mage camping outside my forest, waiting for permission to visit my vegetable garden. My life is so weird. While Kylan's team was out there accidentally becoming celebrities, I was back home teaching cat girls how to farm. Peaceful, wholesome, completely clueless about the chaos I'd caused. Honestly, the past 2 weeks without the silver hand had been comfortable. Too comfortable. The cat girls had completely taken over my life. Someone wakes me up every morning. Someone washes my clothes. Someone cleans the house. Someone does the dishes. I didn't even get to argue about it. They developed a whole rotation system behind my back. Patty started as my kitchen helper. Then she was chopping vegetables. Then cooking side dishes. Then one day I walked in, and she was running the entire kitchen. My recipes, my techniques, stolen right out from under me. I don't even cook anymore. They took that too. Stripped of all domestic purpose, I retreated to the fields. My last bastion. But then little Melita came running over wanting to learn farming. And within an hour, all the cat girls were there, and I was giving an agriculture lecture. Bitter rice is our most important crop. After my selective breeding, this generation has high resistance to pests and disease, but you still need to weed regularly. Here's how to tell weeds from seedlings. That's when Per came back with Kylan's crew. I don't know what came over me. I marched straight up to Kylan, grabbed her hand with both of mine, shook it vigorously, and said, "Thank you for your service, comrade." She had no idea what I was doing. Neither did I, honestly. Months of isolation does things to a man. They started unpacking. Clothes, blankets, spices, metal tools. And my eyes almost popped out. Blocks of perfectly cut white crystal. 4 windows. I'd been about to try melting sand like some medieval glassmaker, and they just casually handed me crystal panes. Beautiful. You're so excited about windows you forgot the main thing, Kylan said. Thud, thud, thud. Over a dozen fat bags hit the ground, jingling like Christmas bells. What's that? Money, you walnut. After expenses and their 30% cut. 14,700 gold shields. All mine. In my old life, I counted every penny. Now I've got a fortune and literally nothing to spend it on. Funny how that works. I swept all the bags into my magic pouch. Seagulls, I twitched. How big is that storage space? It looks weird. Oh, this thing? Not that big. About 10 cubic. 10? Yeah, I know. Kinda small, right? Everyone turned to stone. Seagull looked at his own storage pouch, which he'd spent 3 years of savings on. That holds less than 1 cubic. He looked like he wanted to cry. Kylan patted his shoulder. I told you not to ask these questions. This man doesn't even know how strong he is. You think he understands how much a storage device is worth? Fair. I genuinely didn't know. Then Elaine raised her hand timidly. Kylan, didn't you forget something? Oh, right. Kylan smacked her forehead and told me about Liam the elf mage. My smile vanished. No, I won't meet him. Too risky. There is no magical source zone. Everything here grows because of my shape-shifting tool. One smart researcher poking around would figure that out in a heartbeat. And then I become the most valuable and most hunted person on the planet. I figured you'd say no. I'll go tell him. Wait. I walked to the field, grabbed a handful of dirt, wrapped it carefully in cloth. Filled a jug with stream water using the tool. Dug up one magical plant. Handed it all to Kylan. Give him these. The man came all this way. He deserves something. This wasn't just generosity. It was strategy. If Liam studies the soil and water and finds trace magic, great. It reinforces the magical source zone cover story. And maybe, just maybe, his research reveals how the tool affects plant growth. If that secret becomes public knowledge, it stops being worth killing me over. Kylan left with Purr. She came back later. Mission accomplished. Liam was disappointed but grateful. He said he respected the hermit's privacy and hoped to visit someday. Good. Crisis managed. For now. But I couldn't stop thinking. One trade run. One. And it already attracted a legendary mage, swarms of stalker merchants, and potential assassins. What happens next time? What happens when kingdoms get involved? There's no magical fountain here. There's no ancient source zone. There's just me and a magic farming tool. The moment anyone discovers that, I become either a slave or a target. The 5 kingdoms haven't bothered with Devil's Forest because there was nothing worth taking. But magic plants that the entire continent is desperate for? That's more than enough reason to send armies. When that day comes, my choices are fight the world or kneel. I don't want either. I went quiet for days. Barely talked. Sat by the stream for hours, staring into the forest, thinking. Everyone noticed. Nobody knew what to say. Then one night, old Toma found me sitting on a rock in the dark. He handed me a bottle of dwarven wheat beer. Didn't say, "What's wrong?" or "Cheer up." He just talked about dwarven history, their brewing traditions, how beer is to dwarves what blood is to veins, how his people survived impossible hardships by finding small joys. I took a sip. It tasted like earth beer, but better, richer, with an herbal sweetness. This is really good. Dwarven brewing is the best. No other race comes close. We drank. He told me about a dwarven hero who once ventured deep into Devil's Forest looking for rare brewing plants. Did he find them? They found him, sucked dry on a magical vine. The dwarves never entered the deep forest again. Cheerful stuff. But somehow, sitting in the dark with a good beer and a grizzled old dwarf who understood that sometimes you just need company and not advice. It helped. The problems weren't solved. But at least I wasn't chewing on them alone. Toma and I killed the rest of the beer. Then the old dwarf dropped some knowledge that completely changed my mood. The 5 kingdoms will never invade Devil's Forest. Why not? Kings only care about profit. Because they've tried. Multiple times. Even a 5-kingdom alliance. They failed. Every single time. Turns out, the forest is basically unconquerable. The terrain is a nightmare. The monster population is enormous. And here's the wild part. Monsters that normally hate each other will team up against invading armies. One high-level monster can stall a purple robe mage, and there aren't enough elite fighters to go around. The foot soldiers get slaughtered. Someone once suggested nuking the whole forest with forbidden magic. That idea died when the blue dragon Toria, the one who controls the oceans, sent a formal warning to all civilizations. You will release something terrible. Nobody ignores a dragon's warning. The kingdoms permanently canceled all forest invasions. Only small adventurer parties allowed. Honestly, Toma chuckled, I suspected you might be that terrible thing. Me? But a terrible being that dragons fear probably wouldn't spend all day growing vegetables and wanting everyone to be friends. Fair point. I laughed for the first time in days. My biggest worry just evaporated. No army is coming. And small exploration teams? Easy to handle. Wait, how do you know all this military intelligence? I was a soldier. Front lines of the joint invasion. I watched the most powerful mages in the world look helpless against a wave of monsters. Toma had seen some stuff. But his point landed. The forest itself is my fortress. The monsters are the defense system. Which gave me an idea. Next morning, I gathered everyone with a huge grin. Sorry for being gloomy. I have a plan. Purr and I are going to visit our neighbors. Neighbors? The high-level monsters. If Purr and I can get along, why not the others? They're intelligent. We can communicate. Dead silence. Then everyone started shaking their heads at the exact same speed. You do realize how terrifying you are to monsters, right? Kylan said. As long as I'm sincere enough, I can win them over. Sweet little Elaine raised her hand timidly. If I saw a scary-looking man at my door holding a gift, I definitely would not open it. My smile froze. I went to the nearest wall and started drawing circles in the corner with my finger. That one hurt. That one really hurt. I'm a nice person. I'm friendly. How is my vibe? Home invasion instead of housewarming party? But I bounced back, dusted myself off. Can't know until I try. You guys hold down the fort. Let's ride. I packed some magical plants as gifts, housewarming presents for the neighbors, and we galloped into the forest. First target selected from my guidebook map, an ice fong tiger. High-level monster, ice magic specialist, lives in a valley nearby. Should be approachable. I handed Per a beautiful frost blue flower and sent him in as my ambassador. Be peaceful. If it gets violent, come straight back. Per nodded and trotted off cheerfully. 30 seconds later, terrifying roar from the valley. Per came sprinting back with his tail between his legs. There was a patch of frozen fur on his, but where he'd been ice blasted. Seriously? It took the gift and attacked you. Per looked deeply offended. Betrayed, even. Okay, take my tool this time. If it acts up, fight back. Round 2. Per went in with the shape-shifting tool in his mouth. This time, silence. Then a mighty lion roar. That's my boy. I ran into the valley. There it was, a white tiger creature with saber teeth, bat-like wing membranes on its front legs, and a spiked mace ball at the end of its tail. Looked absolutely deadly. Currently cowering in a corner, trembling. Per sat across from it like a king on a throne, tool still in his mouth, radiating pure dominance. I pushed through some branches and stepped into view. The ice fong tiger saw me and nearly died on the spot. It started making sounds, not growling, not roaring, literal whimpering, like a kitten stuck in a tree. In its head, I imagine the thought process was, the lion I smacked came back with a weapon, beat me up, and now it brought the scariest thing I've ever sensed, and that thing is walking toward me with a smile. This is how I die. I raised both empty hands. Moved slowly. One tiny step. Paused. Checked its reaction. Another step. I was genuinely scared too. What if it snapped and attacked? But I kept my cool, inching closer. Easy there. I'm not going to hurt you. I reached out my hand. Fingers getting closer. Almost touching. Contact. SFK. The ice fong tiger let out a blood-curdling scream, released the most unholy stench I have ever experienced, and fainted. It peed itself. And worse. I stood there, hands still extended, staring at the unconscious tiger lying in a puddle of its own terror, and looked up at the sky in pure defeat. My neighbor just met me and soiled itself. I crouched down, poked its nose, still breathing, good, then grabbed its head and shook it. Wake up. Stop playing dead. It woke up. Saw my face inches from its own. Accepted death. Closed its eyes. Said goodbye to its mother in its heart. I'm not killing you. Look, I brought you a present. The tiger opened one eye. Then the other. Still alive? How? I backed away and let Per handle diplomacy. Per walked over and started grooming the tiger, licking its head fur. Slow, calming licks, like a big brother consoling a scared sibling. Then he started explaining, in monster language, I assume, concepts like gifts and friendly visits. The tiger kept glancing at me with deep suspicion. Gifts and visiting were clearly not in its vocabulary. Eventually it gave up trying to understand, decided, at least he's not killing me, accepted the magic plant, and gave us both a cautious, friendly head bump. We left. Mission accomplished. Sort of. As we walked away, I could feel the tiger staring at our backs, probably thinking, didn't steal my territory. Didn't kill me. Gave me something nice. Humans are weird. First neighbor visit. Gift delivered. Relationship status. Traumatic, but positive. Only about 40 more monsters to go. After the ice fong tiger incident, Per and I continued our Meet the Neighbors campaign across Devil's Forest. It was, without exaggeration, the most humiliating wildlife documentary ever filmed. Every stop was the same formula. Per goes in first, gets rejected, I show up. Monster has a complete mental breakdown. The highlights reel of monster fear responses. The earth demon ape started throwing its own poop at us. Like a zoo primate having the worst day of its life. Dignity? Gone. Feces? Airborne. The crack poison bird literally vomited its own stomach out to scare us. That's not a defense mechanism. That's a cry for therapy. The armored bear curled up on the ground and pointed its butt at me. Just surrendered rear first. Please, sir, if you must kill me, at least I won't see it coming. The swamp giant lizard, a creature that crawls, stood up on 2 legs and sprinted away like a terrified office worker late for a meeting. and the cave demon spider panic wrapped itself in its own silk until it became a perfect ball. Just a big white cocoon, vibrating with fear. I'm supposed to be making friends. Instead, I'm collecting trauma responses like Pokédex entries. Every single one eventually accepted my gift and gave a cautious head bump of friendship. But the journey there? Pure chaos. Last stop, the ancient rock dragon. Purse Happy Trot immediately stiffened. He looked back at me with genuine worry in his eyes. Scared? It's okay. If things go bad, we run. According to the guidebook, this thing has actual dragon blood. Top tier. The apex of the apex. When it sits still, it looks like a boulder. It lives in an underground cave system. Per had been honest earlier. He told me flat out he can't beat this thing. Might not even be able to escape it. But I figured, it's the last visit, it's a good test of my limits, and rock dragons are slow. Worst case, we sprint. The cave entrance looked like the mouth of hell, wind howling out of it like screaming ghosts. Per lit his tail on fire for a torch. We went in. Down, down, down. The tunnel just kept going deeper. Eventually the darkness gave way to an ethereal blue glow. Bioluminescent algae floating in shallow water, illuminating a massive underground cavern. Stalactites and stalagmites everywhere, crystal clear pools reflecting blue light. It looked like a fantasy movie set. I instinctively reached for my phone to take a picture. My hand grabbed air. Right. No phone. No Earth. No Instagram. Just me, a fire lion, and a dragon's living room. Some habits never die. I went ahead of Per this time. He'd admitted this was out of his league. My heart was pounding, but I kept walking. Then a roar. Deep, ancient, shaking the walls. A warning. Leave. Per flattened his ears in terror. But I actually smiled. Because I heard it. That roar. Slightly wheezy. A tiny bit hollow. Like those village dogs back home that bark ferociously but are actually bluffing. I walked faster. A huge gray-white boulder sat in the cave. I took a few more steps and it moved. Bits of rock crumbled off it. Then it stood up. Golden slit pupils glowed in the dark. The ancient rock dragon revealed itself. Every inch covered in mineral-hard plating that gleamed like polished ore. Legs like mountain pillars. A tail that could demolish buildings. Jaws lined with steel-colored teeth. This was it. One of the most terrifying creatures in the entire forest. We stared at each other. I opened my mouth to deliver my rehearsed, hello neighbor, speech, and, human. Leave, it talked. Hoarse, ancient voice, but actual words. I froze. None of the other monsters could talk. This changed things. Before I could recover, human. Leave, louder this time. Still just words, no attack. Firm, but not violent. Okay, leaving. Just let me put down this gift, and something I said set it off. The air twisted. Rocks lifted off the ground. Stone shrapnel launched at me like 100 bullets. The shape-shifting tool flashed. A massive stonemason's hammer materialized in my hands. I swung. Boom. Crash. Crack. Rocks shattered against the hammerhead in explosions of dust and debris. I smashed every single projectile out of the air. What I didn't notice, fragments of the dragon's rock magic were sticking to my hammer, seeping into the metal, fusing with it. The plain hammer started growing a layer of stone armor, strange glowing patterns crawling across its surface. I stood there, one hand on the hammer, glaring at the dragon. That was rude. The rock dragon reared its head. Orange-red light built inside its mouth. It breathed fire at me. I didn't dodge, didn't block, just stood there and took it. Per screamed behind me, golden light charging between his horns, ready to go down fighting for my sake. Then my voice came calmly through the flames. I'm fine. The spirit armor had activated its true form. No more overalls and dress shirts. Full battle mode. Golden chest plate embedded with gemstones. Silver white arm and leg guards glowing cold in the dark. Intricate ancient patterns carved across every surface. It looked like something a war god would wear to a formal dinner. And my hammer? The stonemason's tool had become a warhammer. Massive. The head encased in gray-white dragon rock. Lava-like veins pulsing through it with barely contained power. I raised the warhammer and pointed it directly at the ancient rock dragon. Since you don't want to talk nicely, I grinned. I also know a thing or two about fighting. When the rock dragon breathed fire at me, my brain did something weird. Instead of dodge, it said, don't move. So I just stood there, in a column of dragon fire. Like an idiot. or a god. Thin line between those two. It was a bit toasty, like standing too close to a barbecue. But my spirit armor went absolutely wild. It melted into liquid form, absorbed the fire's energy, and rebuilt itself around my entire body as a full suit of golden battle armor with gemstones and silver gauntlets and ancient engravings. I went from farmer in overalls to final boss of a video game in 3 seconds. Meanwhile, the hammer was doing its own thing, absorbing rock fragments from the dragon's earlier attack, growing, mutating, until it became this massive warhammer covered in dragon stone with glowing lava veins. Cool. Very cool. No idea how any of this happened. But Per was about to charge in on a suicide mission, so I stepped out of the fire to calm him down. Then I said my cool line and charged. I launched myself at the ancient rock dragon like a human missile. It saw me coming, terror flashing in those golden eyes, and turned its hardest armor toward me because it had no time for anything else. I swung. Boom. The dragon's rock armor shattered. The entire cavern shook. Dust erupted everywhere. The rock dragon, this ancient apex predator that even real dragons respect, went flying backwards with a single hit, crashed to the ground, and couldn't get up. It tried, over and over. Each time it pushed itself up, it collapsed again, whimpering. The pain and residual force from my blow just wouldn't stop. It looked at me with those golden eyes. Pure despair, but also defiance. This creature's ancestors stood toe-to-toe with real dragons. It wasn't going to beg, so I powered down. Armor flowed back into a simple jacket. Warhammer shrunk back into a little box. I crouched in front of this massive suffering beast, gently touched its cracked armor, and said, "Sorry, I hit too hard. You okay?" The despair in its eyes was instantly replaced by total confusion. "You aren't here to kill me, kill you? Why? I told you. I'm visiting my neighbors. And you attacked me first. Humans. Deceitful race. Okay, fair. Humans do have issues. But you can't judge all of us by that." It closed its eyes. Conversation over. I placed the crystal rose gift beside it and turned to leave. At the cave exit, its hoarse voice echoed behind me. "Human, you are strange. Stop calling me human. I have a name. Yi Qing. Lashika." It said one word. Its name. Then silence. That's basically a handshake in ancient dragon beast culture, right? I'll take it. Back home, the cat girls were in Kylan's outdoor magic class. Little Melita spotted me first and came bouncing over like a happy kitten. "Brother Yi Qing, you're back." Everyone swarmed me, checking for injuries. I told them about the trip. Ice Fong tiger, earth ape, poison bird, armored bear, all the fun stops. Good, good, Kylan exhaled with relief. Just regular high-level monsters. I was worried you'd do something stupid like fight a dragon. Oh yeah, Devil's Forest doesn't have real dragons. So I went to the ancient rock dragon instead. Kylan's relief evaporated so fast, it probably created a vacuum. She started shouting. "Send Elaine to examine me again." Everyone who knew what an ancient rock dragon actually was just stood there with blank faces. "Was it necessary to be this extreme?" she yelled. "You said you didn't know how strong you were, and then you went and picked a fight with a top-tier monster? Isn't this what you'd call getting cocky? I'm standing right here, aren't I? If you weren't, we couldn't even retrieve your body." Seagull, forever unhelpful. "Hey, he's fine though, right? Tell us what happened." "Not much. Said hello to everyone. Had a small scuffle with the rock dragon. Oh, that reminds me. Check this out." I pulled out the warhammer. It thudded onto the ground like a meteor. "Isn't your tool only supposed to become regular tools?" Colton asked, staring. Toma ran his hands over it like a dwarf finding religion. Strong earth and fire elemental signatures. Locked inside the hammerhead. The material resembles gray limestone, but far more durable. I explained my theory. The tool absorbed the rock dragon's stone magic during our fight and transformed. All this time I'd been using it as a glorified Swiss Army knife, but its real potential is magical enchantment through combat absorption. Time to test it. We went to a clearing. I needed someone to hit the tool with different types of magic. I looked around. "Who wants to go first?" Kylan stepped forward. "I'm the only mage here. Who else would it be? Just blast it. That's it. Just blast?" The rock dragon did worse. Trust me, she started small. One fat lightning bolt straight at the tool-turned axe. Impact. Electric sparks danced across the blade, then faded. Toma checked. Faint lightning element traces. Maybe not enough power? Kylan nodded. Everyone back up. A massive magic circle lit up beneath her feet. She chanted. The air crackled. Then dozens of dark blue lightning bolts tore through the sky and hammered the axe like an angry god. Trees splintered. A crater melted into the earth. The axe sat in the middle, completely unharmed. Toma jumped into the still-hot crater and grabbed it. Strong lightning element reaction. Same pattern as the warhammer. But the shape didn't change. Something was missing. Siegel suggested maybe I needed to be holding it. Everyone glared at him. But it wasn't a terrible thought. I stared at the warhammer's stone coating. Those patterns. That texture. Then it clicked. It needs materials. Physical material from a magical creature, not just raw magic energy. I pointed at the rock shell on the hammerhead. This is the same stone as the rock dragon's body armor. The tool absorbed actual dragon rock during the fight. Lightning magic alone isn't enough. You need a lightning element creature's material as the base. Toma's eyes went wide. Of course, forging weapons always requires material components alongside energy. Ancient rock dragon shell as a crafting ingredient. I've never even dreamed of working with something that rare. I smiled, looked at Kylan, looked at the forest. I think I need to go visit some of my new friends again. This time, not with gifts. Well, maybe with gifts, but also with requests. Before I could go collect monster materials for weapon upgrades, the calendar had other plans. It was almost peaceful spirit festival, basically this world's version of a memorial day for the dead. Everyone takes it seriously. Kylan's team headed home to their families. Colton and Elaine had to rush all the way to the Elven Kingdom because apparently elves treat this holiday like it's more important than the Queen's birthday. Toma went back to the dwarves. Siegel disappeared to wherever halflings go. The cat girls had nowhere to go, but they picked white flowers and pinned them to their chests. Tradition says white flowers protect the souls of the dead from angry ghosts in the river of the afterlife. I wore one too. Not because I have anyone to mourn in this world, but because. Little Melita asked me, "Do you have someone you miss?" My parents. Did they leave? No. I'm the one who left. In a way, I'm the ghost. I'm the one who died on that road in City A and never came home. Whether Zero faked the hospital scene or not, in some version of reality, my parents lost their son. Why don't you go back? I can't. But as long as they're happy, that's enough. Melita stood on her tiptoes and patted my head. Her tiny hand barely reached. It's okay, Lord Yiqing. Melita will be with you. And Patty, and Mia, and everyone will always be here. I took her hand and we walked back to the yard, where the other cat girls had started a bonfire. Liz and Emma were spinning in a beautiful beast folk dance while Grace sang. Melita tried to copy them and tripped over her own feet. Per joined in, bobbing his massive head to the rhythm, tail swooshing, making everyone laugh. It was warm. It was good. It was still a little empty without the full crew. But it was home. The festival was half over when normal life resumed. Farming, hunting, cooking, the usual. The cat girls ran the household like a well-oiled machine. I barely had to do anything domestic anymore. Then one afternoon, I came home from hunting and the fields were empty. Nobody working. Dead silent. That's never good. From the front yard, Per's battle roar. Deep, furious, deadly serious. I dropped my kills and ran. Per was in full combat stance, body low, muscles bulging, golden fur standing on end, teeth bared. The cat girls were hiding in the house behind him, terrified, and floating in the air in front of Per, a woman with white wings, like an actual angel, glowing sword in hand. Behind her, armored winged guards in formation, long spears pointed forward. Don't be afraid, the angel woman shouted toward the house. I'll save you from this monster. She thought Per was threatening the cat girls. She thought she was rescuing them. She charged, glowing sword sweeping down. Per launched into the air. Giant lion paw versus holy sword, clang. Sparks flying, both knocked back. The angel stabilized with her wings. Per bounced off the ground and rocketed upward again immediately. She barely got her sword up in time. A wild, panicked slash. Per twisted midair like a cat, dodged it completely, jaws opening wide, going straight for her throat. One of the guards fired a light beam that smacked Per sideways, breaking his attack. He landed on all fours, growling. The guards formed up around their boss, spears forward, perfectly synchronized. Things were about to go very badly. Stop, Per heard me and instantly disengaged, sprinting to my side like a puppy. He nuzzled my shoulder and started yapping at the angel lady. She started it. She came into our yard. I was protecting everyone. Who are you people? I asked, not remotely in a friendly mood. Someone just attacked my cat and tried to break into my house. I am Princess Rafina of the angel race. Who are you? Isn't it obvious? I'm the owner of this place. Princess, don't be deceived. One of the female guards called out. Devil's Forest has no owners. This must be a monster's illusion, Rafina nodded. Her sword blazed like the sun. She formed a massive ball of golden light and hurled it straight at me. It was so bright I nearly went blind. Seriously, I need sunglasses for this world. I pulled out my warhammer and smashed the light ball. It exploded. Blinding flash. Shockwave. When the light cleared, me, standing exactly where I was, completely untouched. Can we please just sit down and talk? Why does everyone in this world attack first and ask questions never? There's nothing to discuss with a monster. Die, oh come on. Rafina raised her sword. Her guards locked into a special formation. Light particles floated from their spears into her blade. The white energy turned golden, then burst into holy flame. She looked like she was struggling to control it, face twisted in pain. Sacred flame judgment, she swung. A colossal blade of golden fire tore through the air toward me, warping space itself. Heat so intense the atmosphere seemed to catch fire. Okay, that one was actually impressive. My armor activated. Full gold plate materialized over my body. But this time, the warhammer transformed into something different, a massive, plain scythe. I swung the scythe. The sacred flame judgment. This ultimate combination attack from a princess and her entire guard squad, split apart like wet paper. The golden fire shattered into a million sparks and got absorbed into my scythe blade. Her was bouncing around me like a cheerleader, roaring and howling, either encouraging me or straight up taunting Rafina. Probably both. The scythe now glowed with a thin white aura. Golden flames flickered along the blade. Denser, more concentrated than what Rafina's own sword had produced. I just ate her ultimate attack and my weapon got stronger from it. I rested the scythe on my shoulder, pointed it at the angel princess floating in the sky, and said one word. Down. Rafina was floating up there looking all grim and conflicted. Her ultimate move, the one powered by her literal god, just got eaten by my scythe like a snack. I could feel her faith crumbling in real time. Meanwhile, I was standing on the ground like an idiot. You know what's annoying? I can't fly. Every protagonist in every novel I ever read could walk on air, ride swords through clouds, defy gravity like it's a suggestion. I got the demigod package and forgot to check the flight option. I'm stuck here, pointing a flaming scythe at the sky like a very angry farmer yelling at a bird. I said come down. I made a throwing stance with the scythe. The holy flames on the blade intensified. Rafina could feel it, her own power being charged up and aimed right back at her, except stronger now. Her guards panicked. Princess, flee. We'll hold him off. Rafina shook her head. You can't beat him. Don't throw your lives away. Dying for you is our greatest honor. The lead guard, Mikau, shouted, and the whole squad launched at me like kamikaze angels. I was actually about to retaliate. My armor was on. The scythe was blazing. In my head I was thinking, I'm a good person. I help old ladies cross the street. This is self-defense. Completely justified. Then Rafina screamed, Stop. We surrender, her guards yelled. Princess Ino, stand down. She floated to the ground, walked toward me, and, to my complete shock, dropped to one knee. I'll be your prisoner. Just please don't hurt my people. I was not expecting that. I scrambled forward to help her up. Don't touch the princess. Mikau came screaming out of the sky, spear first, straight at my face. I barely tilted my head in time. The spear grazed my cheek. Drew blood. That did it. I grabbed the spear with one hand. Mikau pulled. Nothing. She pulled harder. Nothing. I was a mountain and she was trying to move me with a toothpick. I flexed. One arm. Lifted Mikau, a full-grown armored angel warrior, off the ground, spear and all. Then my left hand shot out and grabbed her wing. Rip. Golden blood sprayed across the sky. Mikau screamed. I kicked the spear into the ground so hard it buried itself halfway. Then I booted Mikau through the air. She sailed in an arc and crashed into the dirt. Rafina flew to Mikhail's side instantly, knelt, pulled her into her arms, spread her wings wide around them both like a shield, turning her own back toward me, ready to take whatever came next. Nothing came. She peeked over her wing. I was standing there with my arms crossed, looking extremely annoyed. Here's the thing about this world. Nobody talks first. Not monsters. Not mages. Not angels. Everyone's first instinct is violence. Do you people not have diplomacy? Manners? A simple, hello, who are you, before firing a god-powered energy blade at someone's face. Rafina was healing Mikhail's wing. It wasn't as bad as it looked. Apparently angel healing magic is pretty solid. Mikhail, even with a torn wing and blood everywhere, was still glaring at me defiantly. She attacked an unarmed man who was trying to help you stand up, I said flatly. I responded. Seems fair. In Devil's Forest, with a tamed monster? Anyone would assume. First, Purr is not a tamed pet. He is my brother from another species. I looked back at Purr. He looked at me. His tail slapped my shoulder. Bro, you're my bro. Second, there's no law saying humans can't live in Devil's Forest. Then my cat girls came out of the house, and the real story came out. Here's what actually happened. The Angel Squad spotted beastfolk women working in fields inside Devil's Forest. They assumed the girls were prisoners, enslaved by a monster. So they swooped down, crushing several of my precious crops in the landing, and tried to rescue the cat girls. Mia, the one with the fiery temper, was the first to react. She marched up, hands on hips. Who are you and why are you destroying our crops? The angels completely ignored her. We're here to save you. Come quickly. The monster won't notice. Mia slapped their hands away. I'm not going anywhere. This is my home. Purr heard the commotion, came running, roared at the intruders, and the angels retreated to the air. To them, it looked like a monster intimidating captives. To us, it looked like strangers trying to kidnap our family. Maximum misunderstanding achieved. Now, facing me, a guard piped up, but you're keeping these girls prisoner. With a monster guarding them. Patty stepped forward. Nobody's a prisoner. This is our home. You're the ones who don't understand the situation. Brother Yiqing is the best person in the whole world. That was little Melita. My nose tingled. My eyes got hot. Do not cry. Maintain the tough guy image. I fixed my expression. Raised an eyebrow. Cool. Collected. Definitely not emotionally compromised. So, let's talk. How do we settle this? Rafina finally understood the full scope of her screw-up. She gently set Mikhail down, walked up to me, and bowed so deeply her hair touched the ground. I'm truly sorry. This was entirely our fault. We'll compensate you however you wish. Rare potions, treasures, gold. Name it. Don't want any of that. She blinked. Then, I can make a promise on behalf of the entire angel race. One condition. Anything, as long as it doesn't violate our core principles. A blank check from an angel princess backed by an entire race? Interesting. Anything? Yes. I could have asked for wealth, power, alliance, protection, access to angel territories, dragon-level intelligence. Instead, I said, then stay here and work for me. Rafina's hand flew to her mouth, eyes wide as dinner plates. Total system crash. An angel princess, celestial royalty, just got sentenced to farm work. Welcome to Yiqing's homestead. Everyone ends up farming eventually. Not acceptable. Mikhail, the guard whose wing I just ripped off, jumped up the second she healed. The princess cannot do peasant labor. I was this close to ripping off the other wing. Rafina saw my face change and immediately cut in. I accept the terms. But princess. One look from Rafina shut her down. But I could tell the princess was screaming internally. Her guards are brave, loyal, willing to die for her at the drop of a hat. And they have the social intelligence of a brick wall. They're from something called the Holy Judgment Academy, which apparently trains warriors to be fearless, devoted, and completely incapable of reading a room. Rafina is actually kind of interesting. She's the youngest princess of the angel race, a small independent nation outside the Five Kingdoms. Angels naturally wield holy light and consider themselves servants of God, except Rafina's never actually seen God. When she prays, her soul travels to the Lord's realm, a beautiful paradise with flowers and golden light and a magnificent throne. An empty throne. Nobody's home. God's out. Left no forwarding address. She asked her father once, does God actually exist? She got grounded. First and only time. Never brought it up again. She's basically the rebellious princess archetype. Swung on holy statues as a kid, snuck out to human taverns to listen to adventure stories, and the moment she turned adult, she grabbed her guard squad and left to explore the world. Now she's here because she heard about the Black Dragon and thought, I'll investigate Devil's Forest, like that was a reasonable Tuesday plan. She found my farm, assumed it was a monster trap, attacked, got humbled, and now she's sitting across from me, drinking tea. About that tea, I found a tea-like magical plant in the forest. Tastes like green tea. One small issue, it was poisonous. I discovered this when Siegel and Colton drank it and immediately collapsed. Toma only drinks beer, so he was fine. Elaine detoxified herself in time. Kylan was busy with research and skipped the tea party. The cat girls don't drink hot beverages because their tongues can't handle the temperature. After extensive cultivation and Kylan's magical research, it's now perfectly safe. Refreshing, even. Only 2 casualties during development. Acceptable losses. I explained the Black Dragon situation. It was spotted entering Devil's Forest, but disappeared near the outer edge. Druids tracked it and lost the trail. I haven't seen any sign of it in the deep forest either. So charging into Devil's Forest on a hunch was incredibly stupid. Be grateful you found me and not something that eats angels. We were surprised too, Rufino admitted. We expected constant attacks, but encountered nothing. When exactly did you enter? A few days before the Peaceful Spirit Festival. We moved slowly for investigation. At one point we felt an enormous threatening aura, but it wasn't directed at us. My mouth twitched. That enormous threatening aura was me, visiting my monster neighbors and accidentally terrifying the entire forest. These angels flew through untouched, because every monster within miles was too busy hiding from my diplomacy tour to notice a few winged intruders. They owe me a thank you card. Okay, chat's over. You'll stay in the 2 empty houses on the east side for 1 month. What do you need us to do? Whatever. Find something useful. Or do nothing. I genuinely don't care. Then why make this demand at all? I walked out without answering. Here's the thing she doesn't know. I don't actually care about the labor. This is about relationships. A princess who stays here for a month will go home understanding that I'm not a threat. She'll tell her people. That's one more ally, one more race that won't come knocking with swords drawn. A wise man once said, make as many friends as possible and as few enemies as possible. That's my entire strategy. Every person who lives here and leaves happy is a shield I don't have to hold myself. First order of business, comfort the cat girls. They'd just been through an attempted kidnapping by winged strangers who destroyed their crops. They were shaken. I got a chorus of, we believe in you forever, Lord Yi Ching, which was touching, and then they started saying increasingly intense things that sounded like romantic declarations, so I fled the building at maximum speed. The crops were salvageable, mostly. I trimmed damaged leaves, propped up bent stalks, and reluctantly pulled the ones beyond saving. Rufina saw me working, felt guilty, asked to help, and I let her. She actually knows agriculture. Apparently royal education in Angel Society includes farming basics. Good curriculum. Her guards watched from a distance, heartbroken that their elegant princess was getting dirt under her fingernails. Then they tried to make friends with the cat girls. The cat girls were not having it. These people destroyed precious crops, tried to drag them away from home, and attacked Brother Yi Ching. Even little Melita, the sweetest child alive, looked them dead in the eye and said, please don't bother us, ice cold. I've never been prouder. Mikal came to Rufina for help. Rufina came to me. I said, I can't make the girls forgive anyone. They're free people. If your guards want forgiveness, they need to earn it. Like you did. Rufina then gave her guards the most brutal scolding of their lives and threatened to fire all of them if they couldn't get the cat girls to forgive them. Day 2. The guards became silent shadows. Following the cat girls everywhere, watching what they do, memorizing where everything goes, not saying a word. Day 3. The guards woke up early and did every single chore before the cat girls could. Swept the floors, washed the dishes, organized the tools. Per literally had to block them from cleaning my house. Result? The cat girls were even more angry. You didn't apologize, you stole our jobs. That's not making amends, that's unemployment. I looked at Pouty Patty and head-hanging Mikal and almost burst out laughing. These angel warriors can face death without flinching, but cannot figure out basic social interactions. Rafina was hiding behind her hands. I'm so embarrassed. I had to intervene. Gave the cat girls some tasks. Gave the guards separate tasks. Told everyone to stay in their lanes. Peace, fragile, awkward peace, was restored. The cat girls used their free time to design new recipes and plan future house renovations. I'd mentioned once that someday we'd rebuild everything bigger and better, and they've been sketching floor plans ever since. The angel guards, with almost nothing to do, sat around staring at each other until Rafina ordered them to explore the forest and bring back interesting seeds and animals. They brought back a lot of seeds, most of them inedible, some of them possibly dangerous, all of them enthusiastically collected with zero botanical knowledge. I accepted every single one. A seed is a seed. You never know. Rafina herself attached to me like a shadow, following me around, learning everything: farming, cooking, building, tool maintenance. She was genuinely curious and surprisingly hardworking for someone raised in a palace. 1 month of angels on the farm. What could possibly go wrong? Rafina has become my shadow. Everywhere I go, she's 2 steps behind, watching everything I do with those sparkly eyes like I'm a walking tutorial channel. Today's lesson: bamboo cage making. Mikhail's guard squad has been bringing back random animals from the forest, and my existing cages are getting crowded. So, new cages. I split bamboo into thin strips, wove them together in a specific pattern, bent them into half circles, connected 6 of them into a tunnel-shaped enclosure. Easy. Done it 100 times. Rafina was practically vibrating. Can I try? Go for it. She grabbed the strips. Bent. Wove. Overlapped. Then her fingers slipped, and every single strip exploded outward like a bamboo bomb. I laughed. I couldn't help it. She whipped around with the fury of 1,000 suns. Don't laugh. It's my first time. I'm zipping my mouth shut. She tried again, and again, and again. 10 minutes. The floor looked like a bamboo massacre. This girl who's been called a genius her entire life, who wields holy fire that can cut through space, defeated by sticks. I knelt beside her and started over, slowly. 3 strips crossed to lock, then parallel, 1 over, 1 under. Repeat. She followed my hands. Carefully. Precisely. At one point I reached to fix a misplaced strip, and our fingers touched. She yanked her hand back like I was made of lightning. Face, tomato red. I didn't notice. I was staring at the bamboo. See here? You missed the weave. Gets harder as you go. 1 mistake and it all unravels. She nodded, took the piece back, and kept going. By evening, she'd mastered 4 different weaving techniques. She was beaming, more excited about bamboo crafts than she'd ever been about royal etiquette classes. I believe it. Dinner was noodles. I've been working on my noodle game ever since Kylan brought flour from the city. My early attempts were educational. I operated on the principle of too wet, add flour, too dry, add water, and the household endured several days of questionable pasta before I graduated noodle school. Patty learned all my other recipes, but refused to learn noodle making. Flour sticks to catgirl hands. Flour flies into catgirl noses. Patty sneezed through the entire demonstration and officially declared noodles Yiqing's problem. Meanwhile, outside the kitchen, a tiny drama was brewing. Grace, one of the catgirls, was slamming water buckets around while glaring at Rafina, following me like a puppy. What's wrong, Grace? Nothing. I just don't like that princess hanging around Lord Yiqing all day. Emma, the reasonable one, tried to calm her down. She's just learning from him. She hasn't done anything inappropriate. So what if she's a princess? Melita is more mature than her. Little Melita looked up from staring at pretty rocks in the water. Huh? What about me? Nothing, sweetie. Grace says you're very mature. Emma got serious. Grace. Lord Yiqing is making friends strategically. Don't let your jealousy mess up his plans. Grace shut up. But she didn't look happy about it. Smart girls, my cat crew. Even when they're being possessive. At dinner, everyone sat at one long table. This was MY rule. No separate tables, no hierarchy. Everyone eats together. The angel guards nearly had cardiac arrest the first time they had to sit at the same table as their princess. In their world, breathing the same air as royalty during meals is basically a war crime. 2 weeks of exposure therapy later, they can finally finish a meal without looking like they're committing treason. Progress. Though Mikal still delivers a post-dinner lecture every night about how none of this behavior leaves this forest. After dinner, Mikal brought up a problem. They need to send a letter home. Their messenger bird can't navigate Devil's Forest. Rafina asked if she could contact her parents. You sure your letter won't bring an angel army to my doorstep? I half-joked. I promise. I'll just say I'm adventuring with a powerful warrior in the forest. I shook my head. She looked disappointed but understood. Then I asked something that surprised her. You're the angel race's reserve holy maiden, right? How much political power do you actually have? Equal to the king, technically. We oversee each other. I'm the only candidate of my generation. Why? I leaned against the window. Cool night air. Time to drop the real play. What if I wanted to establish formal diplomatic relations with the entire angel race? Is that possible? Her brain froze. You've seen everything here, I continued. My abilities. My territory. It's still small, but my personal strength should qualify me for diplomatic standing. Like how nations negotiate with dragons. She understood immediately. She's royalty. She knows the game. Nations trade with nations for profit. Nations negotiate with dragons for survival. A powerful individual with unique abilities? That's worth a formal relationship. But why? We're so far away. Because I can't hide forever. I stared into the dark forest. Sooner or later, the civilized world will find this place. When they do, they'll either want what I have, or they'll see me as a threat. I need allies before that happens. The angel race is independent from the 5 kingdoms. No territorial disputes. No political baggage. Clean partnership. I paused. Also, most importantly, I'm pretty sure I could beat you guys in a fight. She laughed at that one. Then she gave me a proper royal bow. The real deal, not the panicked surrender bow from our first meeting. Thank you for your honesty. I personally would love to be your ally. I'll write everything I've seen in my letter and convey your goodwill. I hope my people take it seriously. Then she pulled out a white scroll. To ensure future negotiations go smoothly, I'm willing to make a binding oath. On my life. The angel race will never use force against your territory. Princess, you can't. Mikal started. Mikal, I am the reserve holy maiden and a royal heir. I know what I'm doing. Stop saying you can't. She's right though, I said. Don't bet your life on a contract. That's too much. Rafina shook her head firmly. This is an investment. I believe your territory will grow into something remarkable because you're a good leader. And frankly, even in the angel race, there are pests, political opportunists. I can't guarantee negotiations will succeed, but I can guarantee your safety, yours and Patty's and everyone's. This is my goodwill. The room went quiet. I stared at the scroll, wondering if I was moving too fast. Then, from outside, I think it's a good idea. I turned around. Kylan walked in with her entire Silverhand squad, muddy but grinning. Behind them, Purr, absolutely caked in dirt, strutting in like he owned the place. The cavalry had arrived. Right on time. First, let me catch you up on what Purr's been doing while all this diplomacy was happening. Bullying the entire forest. See, Purr's life used to have 4 activities. Hunt, defend territory, heal, find a mate. Now, he lives with me. Territory is untouchable. Hunting takes 5 minutes. And there's not a single female flame golden lion in the entire forest. My boy is lonely and bored. He can't roughhouse with the cat girls. They'd break. He tried wrestling with me once, and I put him in a headlock and pinned him to the ground. He never tried again. So he started visiting the neighbor monsters. Just running into their territories, flexing, and forcing them to play fight. They can't say no because they're all terrified of me, and Purr knows it. He's basically the school bully whose dad is the principal. The swamp giant lizard was his latest victim. When Purr's communication stone lit up and he sprinted off, the lizard collapsed on the ground gasping for air like, please never come back. Purr arrived home covered in mud. I pointed at the stream. Go wash. Now, he slunk off with his tail between his legs like I'd grounded him. Then Kylan and the Silverhand walked in. Perfect timing. They'd overheard half of my conversation with Rafina about diplomatic relations. Before you decide anything, Kylan said with a grin that told me something big was coming. Elaine and Colton brought good news. Colton cleared his throat. The Elven Kingdom wants to establish formal friendly relations with you. And trade. They'll send official diplomats if you agree. I shot out of my chair. Are you serious? How? What? It's because of the soil and water you gave Liam. Here's what happened. Old Liam studied my gift, and discovered something incredible. The soil and water contain a completely unknown element. No magical attribute, but insanely active. It absorbs ambient magic from the environment, converts it into whatever type the plant needs, and delivers it with almost zero loss. Basically, it's a universal magical fertilizer that runs on autopilot. Liam got so excited he rushed straight back to the Elven Kingdom. Why? Because the elves have a problem. Their sacred tree, an ancient, sentient being that's been with the elven race since their birth, is dying. Centuries of accumulated battle damage, declining magic absorption, constant energy leaks. It stopped growing years ago because expanding would kill it faster. The elves' most precious living treasure is slowly fading away. Liam went to the elf queen. She ran out of the palace without shoes to see him. This woman has ruled for centuries, and she's sprinting barefoot because her tree might have a chance. Your Majesty, your shoes. I watched you grow up, Liam. Move. They applied my soil to the sacred tree's roots. Poured the water. Waited. A branch twitched. The queen pressed her pointy ear against the bark. A faint voice. Thank you. A new bud appeared on a branch. The first new growth in who knows how long. It worked. The queen assembled her court immediately. Options were discussed. Invite the mysterious hermit to visit, or buy massive quantities of soil and water. Liam confessed everything. He'd sworn to keep my secret, but had to break his oath for the sacred tree. I violated my promise, the old elf sighed. I have no contract binding me, but my word should have been enough. The queen decided. Since they broke trust first, they'd approach respectfully. They'd find the adventurers who served as intermediaries. There are 2 half-elves in their party, someone mentioned. Perfect. Spirit Festival is coming. All elves return home. We'll find them then. So when Colton and Elaine went home for the holiday, visited their mom, and were about to leave, palace guards showed up at their door with Liam. The queen hosted them with a royal banquet. These 2 half-elves who'd always felt like outsiders in elven society were suddenly getting the VIP treatment. Just deliver a message. The Elven Kingdom wishes to establish friendly relations and trade. The queen also officially acknowledged half-elf status in elven society as part of the deal. Centuries of awkward second-class citizenship resolved in one meeting because I accidentally supercharged a tree. Back to the present moment. Me, standing in my dining room, trying not to scream. One of the 5 great kingdoms, the Elven Kingdom, wants to be my friend. Officially. With diplomats. Yes. Obviously yes. When are they coming? About a week if we send word now. Do it. Wait, no. I'll write a formal reply myself. Give me a minute. Give me an hour. I need to not sound like a crazy person. I was babbling. I knew I was babbling. I didn't care. I looked at Rafina. She was grinning ear to ear. Congratulations. So, is it our turn now? Absolutely. Skip the life oath contract. Just write your letter. But make sure you mention that the Elven Kingdom has already established relations with me. But they haven't actually come yet? Seagull asked, confused. Old Toma rumbled. It's called leverage, boy. Read a book. Rafina's letter to the angel race would arrive with the news that the elves are already on board. Suddenly it's not. Should we trust this random forest hermit? It's, the elves are already in. Do we want to be left behind? Politics. Farming taught me patience. Cooking taught me timing. And apparently getting hit by a truck and reincarnating on an alien planet taught me diplomacy. Everyone scattered to their tasks. Rafina went to write her letter. I sat down at my desk, smoothed out a sheet of paper, and carefully, word by word, composed the most important document of my new life. Dear honored elf queen, it is my great privilege to. My hand was shaking. Not from fear, from excitement. 6 months ago, I was a dead office worker who wanted to grow vegetables. Now 2 nations want to be my ally. I dipped my pen and kept writing. I've been singing in the rice field for 2 straight days. Chinese folk songs. Nobody understands a word. I don't care. I'm getting an alliance with the elves. Is he okay? Seagull asked, pointing at me like I was a zoo exhibit. He's just happy, Kylan said. Toma, dead serious. I've heard of people going insane from too much joy. Kylan got nervous and came to check on me. I was so deep in my own concert that I didn't hear her until she screamed my name right behind me. I jumped 3 feet in the air and unleashed a sentence so profane it contained 4 different Earth languages simultaneously. The universal translator probably had a stroke. Just confirming you're still sane, Kylan said. not understanding a single word, but correctly guessing none of them were polite. Then Colton came sprinting with a letter. The Queen's reply. I teleported across the field. Kylan said she felt a breeze. That breeze was me moving at the speed of hype. The letter was short. Pleasantries. Confirmed visit in 5 days. Delegation led by Liam and Princess Sophia. Princess? I read it 3 more times. Yep. The Crown Princess. Heir to the throne. Leading the delegation personally. Does my territory have some kind of princess-attracting magnetic field? I said to nobody. Rafina materialized from the rice paddy with straw in her hair. I'm also a princess and a holy maiden heir. How come nobody freaked out when I showed up? You showed up trying to kill me. Different energy. Fair point taken in silence. Panic mode activated. I'd been expecting some random diplomats, not royalty. My brick houses suddenly looked like garden sheds. Everything needed an upgrade yesterday. I split everyone into teams. Colton and Elaine handled decoration. They know elven aesthetics. I went hunting with Per for feast ingredients, targeting herd-type monsters only. I've actually started feeling bad about killing solo creatures. When I had no food, hunting was survival. Now, these amazing beings deserve to live. Mental note, start a proper livestock operation soon. Back at base, the team transformed the compound. Green vines and living plants draped over every building. My tool turned the yard into a manicured lawn. The place went from frontier homestead to fantasy botanical garden in 3 days. Then I had what I thought was a brilliant idea. Angel guards hovering overhead, showering flower petals on arriving guests. Rafina stared at me. I understand most of your preparations, but why are they dropping flower petals from the sky? Because it's beautiful. Flower rain. This is diplomacy, not a wedding. My brain caught up to my mouth about 2 seconds later. Macau, dump the petals. Go pick vegetables instead. Anything. Go, go, go. Crisis narrowly averted. The day arrived. I put on my spirit armor in full formal mode, gleaming knight's plate armor, because I literally own 0 nice clothes. Cat girls in 2 rows with flower bouquets. Angel guards hovering with fruit baskets, not petals. Me standing at the front trying to look like I do this every week. Out of the forest walked the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Golden hair like liquid sunlight, green dress that moved like it was alive, blue eyes deep as ocean trenches, flawless porcelain skin, and those elegant pointed ears. Princess Sophia, walking like the forest itself was rolling out a carpet for her. She curtsied. It's an honor to visit your territory, esteemed Mr. Yi Qing. I returned a knight's bow, spent 3 days learning it from Colton. Welcome, honored Princess Sophia, and me. A second elf girl came running up, nearly tripping on her dress. Same face as Sophia, but younger, bouncier, and approximately 400% more chaotic. I'm Lena. Very honored to meet you. I looked at Sophia. She smiled apologetically. My youngest sister. She snuck into the delegation. Of course she did. Princess number 3 in my collection. I'm not building a territory. I'm building a princess shelter. Little Grace came running up with the welcome flower crown, looked at 2 princesses, and turned around helplessly. Brother Yi Qing, which one do I give it to? Before I could answer, Sophia gently took it and placed it on Lena's head. Smooth. Elegant. Problem solved in one motion. This woman is good at this. Then Rafina swept in. Greetings, Princess Sophia. I'm Rafina of the angel race. The territorial energy was palpable. Sophia smiled, unruffled. I've heard of you. The most gifted princess of the angels. A pleasure. Translation of that exchange. This is my diplomatic meeting. I was here first. I pretended not to notice and herded everyone inside. That night, the greatest outdoor dinner party Devil's Forest has ever seen. And probably the only one. Elves, every single one gorgeous. Angels, divinely beautiful. Catgirls, wild, fit, glowing with health. The yard looked like a fantasy magazine cover shoot. I sat in the center watching everyone mingle, dance, share stories across races, and my face hurt from smiling. I am, and always have been, a man who appreciates beautiful people. Tonight was paradise. Old Liam came over with a drink, bowing deeply. Mr. Yi Qing, I'm sorry I broke my oath. If you hadn't, none of this would be happening. Sit down. Eat. Drink. He looked relieved enough to cry. Lena watched the dancers with sparkly eyes, looked at Sophia for permission, got a nod, squealed, and dove into the crowd. Then Sophia placed a long wooden box on the table in front of me. Thank you for what you've done for the elven people. Thank you for forgiving Liam. This is a gift from Her Majesty the Queen. Please accept it, then I gratefully will. Please thank Her Majesty for me. I opened the box in front of everyone. Inside, on a bed of the finest velvet cloth, lay a single tree branch. Small, green, living leaves still attached. A branch from the sacred tree. The gift from the elf queen was a branch from the sacred tree itself. Not just any branch, an ancient, battle-scarred piece of living history. Dark brown bark cracked with age, but sprouting impossibly vibrant green leaves that glittered like emeralds in the firelight. When I touched it, it felt like metal, not wood. This tree has been alive since before civilization existed. The soil and water you gave us, Sophia explained, were used on the sacred tree. They helped enormously. That's actually the main reason we're here. We'd like to trade for more. And ideally, we'd love for you to visit personally. I nodded. Said nothing. Sophia didn't push. She probably thought I was being careful because the soil is rare and precious. I was actually panicking about how to keep my cover story from exploding. See, Kylan told everyone this area is a natural magical source zone. Sacred soil, enchanted springs, the whole fairy tale. It's not. It's regular dirt that I farmed with a magic tool. The moment anyone digs 5 meters outside my fields, the illusion dies. I lay awake all night weighing my options. Option A, go find some random patch of forest, till it with my tool, and sell the magical soil to the elves. Pro, keeps my secret safe, creates a product line. Con, it's a lie. To the First Nation that offered me friendship. I'd be building an alliance on fraud. Option B, tell the truth. Everything. The tool. My abilities. All of it. Pro, honesty, trust, and my personal value skyrockets. Con, I become the most important and most targetable person on the planet. The next morning, I took Sophia and Liam on a farm tour. Liam lost his mind. The old elf threw himself face first onto my dirt in his fancy ceremonial robes. Just lay there, pressing his cheek into the soil, feeling the magical energy, whispering to the earth like a man reuniting with a lost love. His expensive outfit? Destroyed. His dignity? Already gone. Sophia stood at the edge of my fields and froze. As an elf, she can sense life energy naturally. What she saw wasn't just a farm. It was an ocean of green fire. Every plant blazing with vitality. Even the soil glowed faintly. She looked like she'd just witnessed a miracle. I let them absorb it. Offered to let them pick some magical plants. Liam refused 17 times before sheepishly selecting 2 of the cheapest ones. Adorable old man. Then I dropped the bomb. You can feel it. The magical soil only exists where I've farmed. Beyond these fields, the dirt is completely ordinary. Sophia blinked. Processing. That's because I've only cultivated this much land. Her eyes widened. There's no magical source zone. No sacred springs. I created all of this. Every bit of it. I exhaled. It felt like putting down a boulder I'd been carrying for months. Honestly, I almost faked it. Almost dug up some random field, enchanted it with my tool, and sold it to you as rare natural soil. But I couldn't do it. You're the first nation to reach out to me in friendship. You deserve the truth. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Liam spoke first, because scientists can't help themselves. How do you do it? I have a tool with this power. That's the source of everything. Sophia chose her words carefully. I'm surprised you'd share something this significant so openly. I smiled. Biggest, most genuine smile I've had in months. Hiding gets exhausting. And look, I've survived alone in Devil's Forest for almost a year. I built all of this from nothing. If anyone comes looking for trouble, I let the paws hang. That I'll take the entire forest as my own. There it was. The velvet glove came off, and the iron fist waved hello. Translation for the politically savvy. I'm being generous because I choose to be. Cross me, and I have enough power to make this entire death forest into my personal kingdom. That goes for you, the other 4 nations, and anyone else with bright ideas. Sophia got it instantly. Royal education paying off. She recognized the threat wrapped in a smile. She ran the mental math. Is he bluffing or real? A bluffer doesn't survive Devil's Forest. A bluffer doesn't one-shot ancient rock dragons. A bluffer doesn't have apex predators as house pets. He's real. Whatever trade deal she prepared in her head. probably needed a major revision upward. The elven people have loved peace for millennia, she said steadily. We have never started a war against any civilization. You participated in the joint invasion of Devil's Forest, Sharp. She didn't expect that. That was assessed as uninhabited territory. But now it is inhabited. She paused, raised her hand. Green light formed ancient elven script floating in the air. I, Sophia Alwyn, by authority granted by Elf Queen Olivia Alwyn, on behalf of the Elven Kingdom of Alfer and the Elven race, formally recognize Lord Yi Qing's sovereignty over Devil's Forest, witnessed by the elements. So it is sworn. The floating letters split in half. One set flew into my chest, warm, gentle, settling somewhere near my heart. The other half scattered, some absorbed into the elves present, the rest shooting skyward as a streak of light heading beyond the forest. A bloodbound racial oath. The Queen's own power, channeled through Sophia. Binding. Real. Permanent. Every elf, everywhere, would know. They just officially recognized me as the Lord of Devil's Forest. Me, a dead office worker from Earth who wanted to grow vegetables. I looked at Sophia. She looked at me. We both smiled. Well then, I said, gesturing toward the house. Shall we go discuss this alliance properly? Inside my head, fireworks, confetti, a full marching band. On my face, cool, calm, diplomatic. I'm getting really good at this.